Hey guys, I'm learning TFT and I'm sharing my learnings with you so that you can learn and I can learn more effectively as well. In today's video, I'm going to talk about advanced item strategy with Marcel P. He describes it high level title as item economy. Just to give you a little bit of a teaser, we're going to talk about slamming items, removers, carousel choices, and then go through a bunch of Setsuko VoDs where we jump specifically to every item choice that he made, whether that was slamming an item, reforging, remover, carousel choices. And in detail, we go into a lot of nuance around all of these topics. So this is definitely a much more advanced item discussion than just this is BIS and these are what the best items are for each unit. This has far more nuance and layers kind of under the surface around how you want to approach making item related decisions. So, for example, when you're thinking about when to make items, part of the question comes down to when do you want to be strong? Are you trying to sacrifice your HP to get better carousel priority? If so, then you are far less likely to slam. That's a quite simplistic example. And we go into detail on much more complicated item discussion related to slamming items, when to use removers. So part of the question is how core are the items that you have? How many removers do you still need when you transition into the late game, which also includes how do you plan out to cap out your board with 4 or 5 costs, and thinking ahead as far as how your current item situation will scale into the late game. Furthermore, how much HP does using a remover save me? And or gold will it help me generate if it helps me preserve streak? So not just thinking about removers as an isolated element in the game, but rather creating an exchange rate in remover value to HP and gold. Carousel choices, including how to time your comp to spike when it is designed to spike. For example, 2-cost reroll usually wants to spike in stage 3. And so thinking about how to build out your item system from the start of the game to give yourself maximum odds of the strongest board possible in stage 3, which typically means 3 item 2-star carry and likely 2-star tank that may have 1 item as well. Carousel choices also include what are your core components of items for the comp that you are angling toward. For example, if you were playing Zeri, making sure that you have bow and rod is core. What your core archetype is. For example, if you are a burst comp like Brand Ziggs, then you want to design your itemization plan around that game plan. You do not want to build Archangel if you are designing a burst team. In conversely, if you have slammed Archangel or Rageblade, which are scaling offensive items, you typically want to pair those with tank items that will allow your backline to scale. So that is a stall archetype. And so when you are thinking about what your next item choice is, whether that is off a carousel, what item to slam, you always want to keep this high level in mind, especially when you have all of your items slammed and are picking kind of your next open component. When to prioritize current board strength versus projected strength. And also scouting what your opponents want, because it may be worth it to grief them. And this also gives you information on what components may be open and available to you, either in this carousel or the next. We also discussed carousel choices by stage. Stage 2, when you have clear direction versus when you do not have clear direction. Stage 4, whether it's worth taking a pan or spat and how risky that might be. And then we go through a bunch of Setsuko VoDs. So before I dive into showing you the coaching session with Marcel, where we go into this advanced item strategy, or what Marcel refers to as item economy discussion. This is under the context of a coaching session I had with Marcel today through Project Mentor run by Kai. Before I jump into that, I am going to first talk about the meta mindset of today, shift your perspective. If you would like to jump straight to the discussion coaching session on advanced item strategy with Marcel, take a look at the timestamp in the description below. If you would like to hear more about the meta mindset, a little bit of context for this, if you're new to my channel, this is a section where I create a metaphor of TFT concepts to life, which are both useful to help you get better at TFT by zooming out and seeing some of the macro meta perspectives of TFT that will help you improve your game. But not only that, and also help you figure out how to apply these ideas into your life. So that is kind of what I am trying to do here with the meta mindset, is both help you get better at TFT if your longer term purpose is to get better fundamentally, which includes being able to learn and adapt and evolve. That's what the meta mindset is about. It's less about handing you the fish. I'm not here to tell you what you should slam. In 99% of the case, I'm not saying you have to do BIS, right? What we're talking about here is layers of subtlety to understand that things are far more subjective than absolute rights and wrongs. And that is the underlying place that we are going to dig with this meta mindset. All right, and also for those of you who have been watching my channel for a while, sorry about not putting content out for a while. Last week I was out for spring break with my family in Cancun. It's my kids' spring break, so I didn't get much time to be able to create content at all, not be able to play as much, and kind of keep up with what's going on with the meta right now, which I have generally caught up to. And so I'm hoping to be able to do more of these meta mindsets as well, especially because in the last video, I know a bunch of you were saying that there was one comment that wanted to see these come back, and I do want to be able to devote the time to this as well. All right, so meta mindset of the day, shift your perspective. First idea related to that is, what is important? Peter Drucker, the management consultant, said, "There is nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which should not be done at all." So when you think about this from an item slam standpoint, you can apply that to, there are plenty of situations where the best thing to do is actually nothing, and yet we feel compelled to act. And I've been very guilty of this with itemization around situations where I slam an item because I think it's going to help me preserve HP. I end up not killing any units, and then I limit my future optionality and choices with the item components because I've committed to a path that was suboptimal and furthermore did not gain me anything in the process. There are clearly situations in TFT where if you have 8 item components doing nothing for the entire game and you're not playing Cypher, likely you are losing HP unnecessarily, and that is not the optimal strategy either. And yet there are so many times in life where we are doing things and fretting over the result of those actions excessively when that thing should not even be the thing that we should be focusing on. The classic example of this is the phrase rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. When catastrophe is on the horizon, if we are avoiding looking at the thing that is coming at us and working on some task or making a decision related to some goal that does not see the bigger picture, then we are wasting our energy on doing efficiently something that should not be done at all. Gary Keller, in his book, The One Thing, said, "What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary?" This is definitely relevant to the conversation I had with Marcel around one micro example of that would be if you have 3 components. One way to make a decision on what slam is best is to figure out which of those 3 components is the most flexible to give you the most optionality on an ideal next slam, such that it allows you to have 2 items built on your units that will help you preserve HP and generate gold through board strength. And that is one way that you can perceive the game or put a lens on, right? The meta mindset of the day, shift your perspective. So if you can shift your perspective to say, what is that one thing I can do to make everything else easier? Well, after I slam my first item, I want that next component to be very flexible. That makes my future life a lot easier, right? And so that is a theme that comes across in this decision-making analysis when talking about when to decide to slam versus not. Also related to shift your perspective is subjectivity versus objectivity. And related to that is a lot of times we see Twitch chatters perceive the world and decisions in the game from the perspective of there being an absolute truth, an absolute correct response or decision. And yet, the right decision depends on context and perspective. If you think about the game of chess, when AI first started beating humans, and especially after AI far surpassed human capability, a human would look at some of the most advanced AI decisions as being stupid decisions. And especially in a probabilistic game like TFT, I suspect most of the time it is not clear in one way or the other what the right decision should be. And that is extremely relevant for life because I believe that so much of the conflict in the world today, the lack of compassion, anger, violence, jealousy, envy, that the destructive forces of human nature arise because of our discomfort with subjectivity or shifting our perspective, because we are very deeply uncomfortable with the unknown. When we have this question mark sitting in our head, instead of a very clear picture of what's going on, we get dizzy. And so TFT players like to, and this is human nature, humans, not just talking about TFT right now, like certainty. We like comfort of knowing what's going on. We like the comfort of believing that we are right, that we have a good grasp of what is happening in the world around us. And that leads us to draw very questionable conclusions with the limited data that we have to make a story that makes sense to us, because we naturally struggle being comfort with the unknown. Eliyahu Goldratt said, Jeff Cox and David Whitford said, I do not believe in absolute truths. I fear such beliefs because they block the search for better understanding. So instead of viewing the world as having absolute truths, and we are either incapable of seeing it, maybe we don't have the right glasses on because we can't, like when I'm not wearing my glasses, my monitor, the data that's coming gets blurry, right? It's the lens that creates clarity of meaning attached to the information that you are consuming. And when you can view a data set and a decision-making process from the perspective of, hey, there are a seemingly infinite number of ways that I can interpret this data, I can manipulate it, filter it, and not perceive it from an absolute global, universal, objective standpoint, that allows you to be way more flexible in your creative problem solving, your ability to shift your perspective, which is required to solve problems that you are currently stuck on, and come up with better decisions to the problems that you are confronted and faced with. Karl Popper said, there are no ultimate sources of knowledge. Every source, every suggestion is welcome. And every source, every suggestion is open to critical examination. So this is in stark contrast, these ideas, to religion, to Christianity, to sources of knowledge or scripture that claim that there is ultimate source of knowledge, that claim that there is absolute truth. The entire concept of the Christian God is built upon these ideals. And so it's no wonder that these beliefs in absolute truth and ultimate sources of knowledge are ingrained into our human subconscious across our social fabric. And therefore, if we agree that shifting our perspective away from an absolute ultimate truth can be beneficial in helping us creatively problem solve, then if we can be kind to ourselves and compassionate towards ourselves and to others for holding on to those beliefs, that is the source of change in the world. One change in which we can evolve ourselves in a kind and compassionate way, and change in the way that we relate to the people around us, especially people who view the world differently from us. Nietzsche said, there are no eternal facts, as there are no absolute truths. Nietzsche was also the one that was quoted saying, God is dead, we humans have killed him. Something along those lines, I'm paraphrasing. And it is the moment that we as humans decide to kill God, to kill the idea that there is an absolute truth, that we are standing on ultimate knowledge, that there is some solid footing that we can live our lives under with some sense of safety and comfort, that we are going to be okay, that we are safe. When we can shift away from this clinging to some objective truth, the subjectivity of it, going back to shifting our perspective, is what can help us solve the problems that are bringing us pain and suffering. Micro and macro views. Alvin Toffler said, "You've got to think about the big things while you're doing small things so that all the small things go in the right direction." So we talk about this a lot when it comes to slamming items. When do you want to slam an item? Does slamming an item preserve you HP? Or are you at a point in the game where you are supposed to be strong because you have zoomed out to see, okay, I'm playing 2 cost reroll, so therefore I should be strong in stage 3, and therefore I need to have all my items slammed in stage 3 so I can full streak, generate gold and economy, preserve HP, so that I can do my next big roll down to hit and stay ahead of lobby tempo. You've got to think about the big things while you're doing the small thing. You've got to see that all the small things go in the right direction, right? That's like line selection, execution of your roll down, itemization, how to think about itemization within this context. Miyamoto Musashi said, in strategy, it is important to see distant things as if they were close, and to take a distanced view of close things. So again, when thinking about itemization, just as when you are thinking about life, it can be hard to know whether you are making the right decision if you don't know the bigger picture of where you are trying to go and what is important to you, right? Going back to the first point. What is the thing that should be done? What will make everything easier for you? What will help you live the life that you want to live? Not the life that the other people around you want to live with their objective lens of who you should be and how you should act. If you adopt the subjective lens that and really zoom out and figure out what motivates you, what causes you to act, you get that big picture, and then if you can align all the small things of what you do each and every day, and you're making a shift in your perspective to align your actions with that larger goal, because you're kind of shifting back and forth perspective between that big picture and then the micro picture. You see both of them at the same time, just like when you're making an itemization decision, you're trying to decide, how does slamming this item, which is very zoomed in decision, align with my macro goal around my big picture vision of where the long-term item strategy and plan is, and what the ultimate line selection, the comp that I am angling toward, or multiple comps, how does that all fit together, right? And so that's the importance of the micro and the macro view, and being able to see both of those clearly and then figure out how they interact with one another. All right, so that covers the meta mindset of the day. Shift your perspective. I would love to hear your thoughts on what you thought about this section, how you may be able to apply these ideas to your life. If you have ideas for other meta mindset topics that you would like to hear me talk about, or just other topics in general, I do have on my list from one of the last videos, someone commented that they wanted to see me put together a video on tournament prep and how I approach that. So that's on my list to get to. And yeah, with that said, I hope you enjoy this coaching session with Marcel P on advanced item strategy, or what he refers to as item economy. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
Yeah, I have some like notes on item economy stuff that I can talk about to open up, and then we can go through. I've gone through like a couple games of Setsuko on my own. We can just go through. I don't know. I don't think Dishsoap or Norwegian are really streaming that much right now, and so I think Setsuko is a good one to go through. I think he's rank 1. And so we can go through his games and try to. It's a lot easier, I think, with item selection. You can just jump to literally at every point that he's either picking an item or has potential to slam an item, and then and try to predict what he does from there, and try to use like our reasonings that we've come up with, the factors for these decisions. If that sounds good. Cool. Let me share my screen. Are you recording this, by the way?
Yep.
Okay, cool. And everything's all set up and good to go on your end?
Yes.
All
Good.
right. Let me go ahead. Okay. So this should be a fairly open discussion, so feel free to jump in and interrupt or correct or add any points you want to make. But yeah, we wanted to go over item economy today. And as I was putting this together, I realized there's so many things that can go into item economy. And so I'll want to mostly just cover two, because I think this would be way too long and too comprehensive of a thing to put together to cover everything item economy. So I'll cover slamming items and carousel choices, and we'll break down a lot of factors that go into when you want to do these things and what affects your decision making with these. And then we will look through Setsuko VoD and try to use what we've learned and see if we can predict what decisions he's making and why he might deviate from some things we are thinking. Sound good?
Yep. Sounds good. Can you also
Okay.
link me to this doc?
Yes, as I always forget. 1 second. Let me just share, copy link. Okay. Okay, done. So when new to the game, I think one of the more common like rule of thumbs with slamming items, and we'll have another rule of thumb as well with carousel choices that you learn, is to not sit on too many components. And I think this is very useful when you're fairly new, and even up to like, I don't want to throw out a random, I don't know, the diamond master or whatever. It's like reasonable to adhere to like a hard fast rule like this. But of course, the question is, how do you progress beyond this? Because you'll often see top players sit on a lot more than 3, right? And so we have to think about a bunch of things that can. None of these will tell you exactly what to do, but these are all factors that can change your decision as to whether you want to slam or not, right? A big one is, do you want to be strong at the moment? And that can be determined by if you're win streaking. Are you trying to preserve HP at the cost of item flexibility? And do you have a board that can save HP, right? If you're playing Cypher, for example, obviously you don't fall into any of these. You'd rather maintain flexibility. If you are hard committed to a given line, you may as well slam if the item's already there. And if you're hard committed, you obviously should have a good reason to be in that spot. But one big factor, and we'll go through this entire list as we see each like a decision that Setsuko will be making. Does an item swing a fight in our favor? And here, this also isn't just a yes or no question. Even if you're on a 4 streak, this is just one of the factors, right? It can still very much be the correct decision to not slam an item, even if it will secure you a win streak, because it screws over your item economy. And I don't know if I have the VOD ready for it right now, but I did do this in a game where I slammed an item on 2-6, and it really screwed over my item economy, even though it secured me a 5 streak. I'm 100% sure, and I went over the game with another player as well. We both decided it was an awful decision to slam the item. I basically committed myself to 3 frontline items on 2-6 without any backline components. And then I ended up in a really bad spot. And so, but still, it obviously is a factor. If an item, and another question here, which is actually what factored into the game I played, if you do secure a streak and swing a fight with slamming this item, you also have to consider the likelihood this win streak continues. Right? Does your win streak have potential to continue? The more potential you have to continue your streak, your item slam represents even more gold, right? And so your item slam, even if it screws over your item economy, could be worth it, because it might buy you, I don't know, like 15 gold if you continue your streak throughout the entire next stage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these are all factors. Does it making an item save us a significant amount of HP, right? Depending on what stage in the game, we're mostly thinking about item economy, I think, in these decisions through like early mid game. And so you have to factor in how much is 1 or 2 HP gonna affect your game. Do you even want to have that HP, given maybe you even want carousel picks? Or maybe you're playing a game where you're trying to play from ahead, and so you do want that HP, right? And so this is another factor, obviously. Does making an item significantly delay getting to another item? You have what we'll talk about later is like core components or core items for a given line. Very good examples would be like blue buff for Vagar or Vex. And if you make a redemption or those items, obviously it'll delay getting to your core items on the back line. But you can think of the same for frontline, right? If you slam like a guard breaker, are you significantly delaying your 3-item frontline, which might be necessary for your comp by killing that belt? Does making an item significantly delay getting to a core item? Yeah. So here we're talking about more like balance, right? If you make an item, does it screw over your ability to make any 3-item backline or any 3-item tank? Here it's like your comp may really, really require a Rage Blade, right? So you're unwilling to slam things like Crown Guard, maybe to kill the Rod, or a Red Buff, maybe, if you really need the bow, right? And then just making this item commit us to a direction we want to be playing or not playing, right? Maybe your strongest board early game is to slam a BT on your Rengar, right? And you can attempt a 5 streak. But in this set, there aren't many melee comps. You look around and there's one player with Artifact Rengar and another player with like Not Fury reroll and another player that's Divinic or Zed. You probably shouldn't slam that BT because you end up in a really bad spot, even if it gets you a 5 streak. Like your 5 streak doesn't matter because a 5 streak buys you gold. But what it doesn't, but a 3-way contest for melee also subtracts gold effectively from your spot. And so it may very well not be the correct decision to play your strongest board with your BT slam, right? And so here, just to elaborate a little further, directions you want to be playing towards. When we say does making an item commit us to a direction we want, what are directions that you want? Well, directions you want are S tier lines, broken artifact combos. If you already have units for a line, you want to play towards that direction, and uncontested lines, right? And conversely, of course, if you can make items towards the direction you don't want. Off meta builds, vanilla / mid setups with no real like juice in them, with like artifacts, lines you don't have units for, or in contested lines, right? Like yeah, you might have Rod tier belt and you could slam Archangel towards Fiddlesticks, and it's very committal and which is good in some spots, but you don't have those units, you don't have artifacts, you probably don't go towards that direction, right? Direction's not always good. Usually it's implied in the discussion as being good, but it's not always good. So a lot of yapping right now, but we'll be more we'll get more practical value out of this once we jump into the games, I think. Any comments, additions, questions so far from this section?
I think possibly for like the hacked components, and I guess you could apply this to Pandora's as well, like adds more complexity as far as like you get a slammable item that's kind of mid versus like bis, and how to like make that trade-off.
Yeah, I think a lot of that, it sort of leads into my discussion on the carousel choices, because you basically have a choice, right? Are you taking a component, or are you, I guess in carousel choice, are you taking component A or component B? Whereas with randomized components on your item bench, it's like, are you taking component A or delaying the decision, right? And taking something else. And a lot of that can boil down to your setup as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where like, do you feel like you're playing for a high placement? Oh, first of all, do you feel like you really need a core item, right, for your comp? And I think if the answer is yes, you probably usually agreed if you're playing towards a core item. And I think a lot of it also depends on when you're trying to spike with a comp, right? I think it will sort of get, there'll be more clarity into what to do with Pandora's and randomized components as I talk through the carousel choices as well. But
Okay.
or a lot of the reasonings will be similar, I think. But yeah, that is a good point. That because of the hack mechanic, there's a lot more points where you're having to decide between greeting or slamming components in that regard. Any other thoughts?
Trying to think about what other augments that also add in like kind of item choices, like replication,
Item grab bag,
item
like
grab
reforgers,
bag.
and item grab
Oh
bag.
yeah,
Also,
like when to use reforgers.
yeah. As I was thinking through, I was thinking item grab bag, Pandora's, reforgers. I was like, okay, I think if I address all of these, it'll make this section really, really long and yappy. But if at the end, we can probably talk about reforgers at the end as well. I didn't prepare a section on it, but I'm down to chat about that as well.
Okay.
Afterwards. Let me put this under things. we didn't really get to. And reforgers item grab bag. You can also think of like the silver augment item grab bag. Right? When are you taking like a random component? And also we can even go further and say when are we even like balancing off combat augments versus taking more items? Sort of factors into item economy as well. But I feel like it ends up being so much to discuss that
Yeah.
it's easier to keep it grounded, I think, in these decisions, at least as we watch some VODs. Yeah. Anything else?
Probably also falls under the things we didn't really get to is removers, like when to. This is not as much slamming items, but like slamming components or putting items on like a item holder, and when to remove and move to like a better carry or tank.
Yeah, basically, like, how do you know when to value items on X unit that's upgraded versus X unit that's not upgraded, kind of thing? And
Yeah, I feel like
and value numbers.
more recently, or like I feel like I have played a lot, especially after they changed the systems where you get a reforger every creep round now. Like after that change, I was very aggressively playing strongest board, and I've noticed more and more now that like a lot of top players will not remover to make strongest board because they value the remover more than like the incremental value of like winning the round. And I think I'm trying to like pay more attention to that, but I'm probably definitely not doing that optimally.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well. I think I was also on the side of just making more short-sighted decisions of moving to strongest regardless. I think on win streak it does make sense to do it, but when you're not on win streak and it just is a matter of like some HP, or maybe it swings a fight, but it doesn't matter as much because you're on a one win or one loss streak. Um, a lot of it, I think, depends on how much do you think removers matter for your line in terms of I mean, there's several factors. Right? One, do you already have your key items? The more you already have, for example, like let's say you're playing Brand, the more you already have Shojin, JG, Guard, like already all set up, the less you will need removers. The more your items are going to look like in stage 4, Shojin, JG, Morello, or Shojin, JG, Shiv on your carry. Then I think you start to like do the mental math on, okay, how many removers am I realistically going to need, right? And then you also have to factor in that like on late game carousels, you can probably do some item optimizations if you have extra removers, right? Where you can, let's say your dual carry is a Ziggs, who with Brand, who in stage 5 is typically going to carry your Shojin Morello, and let's say your Shiv Morello, and let's say he has a third item already. If you wanted to upgrade his utility item into a real item and move the Shiv and Morello onto another unit, then again there's a lot of value in removers basically, right? And so if you imagine that you will make it to those points in the game, for example, you're high HP, then you probably do value removers a lot, right? So it's like an exercise of realizing, okay, how far into the game am I going to get? How much will this truly help me optimize my spots later on? And so then am I trying to value like a probabilistic amount of HP on 3-5? Let's say if I put this item on this unit, in expectation it'll save me 2 HP. Does this 2 HP matter more for my spot, or does the ability to optimize my late game itemization matter more? And the answer is obviously it depends, but it depends on what placement you're playing for, right?
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, that's a good one, for sure. Optimizing removers. Cool. Shall we move on to carousel choices?
Yep.
So similar to slamming items, I think another rule of thumb I remember being taught when first learning the game is you always just take the component that makes the strongest item for your current board. You take a component that that slams you an item immediately. And again, it's a good enough rule for sort of starting out of the game, but how do we go beyond this, right? And there's several factors here. I think I go into more detail into these ones. At a high level, one big one is trying to time when your comp wants to be strong. And I think if you've played this game for a while now, this is like more obvious to you based on your line of choice. In general, if you're not familiar with this, it's 2-cost reroll comps tend to want to spike on like stage 3. Right? 4-cost comps tend to want to spike on like 4-2. 3-cost comps have like a mini spike on your 2-star 3-cost, and then a later spike on your 3-star 3-cost. 2-cost comps also like have another spike when you hit the 3-star. But typically, your early game lower cap comps want to spike earlier, and so this factors in. I'll go into detail more of this in a sec. Again, your core components / items. This will determine. This is fairly obvious in terms of, okay, you really need several tiers in a AP line, and so you're obviously going to value these a lot. On carousel, this one I listed as separate from core components. Your archetype or setup could be, for example, a stall setup or a burst setup, and based on your setup, you have to realize the value of defensive components versus offensive components. Right? For example, a TF line you really don't want to be stuck with 2-item tank. You really want the 3-item tank because you're playing a double rage blade line, right? And so you are less likely to want to take you're less likely to want like an abundance of offensive items before you have your 3-item tank. And conversely, for a setup where you have multiple backline duo carries and you're more like bursty, one potential example here, depending on how you play this line, is like a Brand Ziggs, where you ideally want Shiv Morello as your utility, and you have Shojin JG guard on Brand. And so you're more willing to take things like excess tiers, even bows. You can use lots of bows in this line, up to 3 for your Ziggs, Shiv, red buff. And so this also obviously determines your carousel picks. And then when to prioritize current board strength versus your projected strength. So obviously, if you're trying to prioritize your current board strength because your HP is low, you take components for the board you have. And when you can project that based on your golden HP, you will get to 5-cost units, for example. You may start to take components that will enable your Aurora and your Viego down the line, right? The more your HP looks like 95 HP stage 4 with 80 gold, the more you don't care about your current board because you're ditching it anyway. The more your HP is 30 and you're 0 gold, you look to itemize your Varus and your Jin on your board, right? Because you're scrounging for placements in that spot.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I really wanted to go into much more detail here, because I feel like just going over the overview was already pretty useful. I guess some examples. So yeah, I guess the examples I had for these for timing your spike for your comp. When you're playing TF / Vayne, an example here would be that when you're playing TF or Vayne, you typically want to spike on stage 3, right? And so even though you might argue that for your item economy for Vayne, taking excess bows is always good, usually you're willing to take a rod on stage 2 carousel because you want to make sure you have that rage blade. Let's say you have like a bow and a cloak and sitting on bench. Let's say you didn't slam because you're playing Lost Streak for whatever reason. Are you trying to take a bow on carousel or a rod, right? And depending on how you want to play this line, I'll argue that if you're trying to spike on stage 3 because you're trying to play this comp in that way, you take the rod, right? And an excess of rods is not amazing. I mean, you can still make another rage blade. You can even make triple rage blade. It's not even bad on Vayne, even without that one augment that gives you all the rage blades. But conversely, if you're playing something like a 4-cost line, like a Brand line, let's say you're not playing for early game strength, and you have a tier, you usually will not take a sword to complete your Shojin on stage 2 carousel because for many reasons. One, excess swords it's not the worst in this line, but it's not amazing. And then you're not really looking to spike immediately with this line, right? Like saving HP matters for sure, but you really want to be strongest on 4-2, right? And what enables that is to have a good balance of components, and taking swords kind of throws that off. And of course, there are exceptions. Right? If you're trying to play for win streak, even if you're playing a 4-cost line, you can take the more short-sighted decision. Of course, if you're playing for win streak and playing for HP, right? They're obviously different. And if you're playing for behind, then that changes. Let's see. Other things I wanted to briefly cover, that we can jump into the games. For core components, you should often be scouting to see what your opponents want as well before carousel, and you can decide to sack. Right. If you know that a component is really useful for you to immediately spike, let's say it enables your comp. The most common examples are rage blades and mana items, where your TF doesn't really do anything before the first rage blade, or your caster doesn't do anything before the first mana item. you are usually willing to sack rounds if you have to. And the big part here is, do you really have to? And you should be looking at what your opponents need, which is usually pretty obvious, and deciding, do you have to sack or not? Because are you contested on a component or not?
Hmm.
Um,
I think
and
another factor that
go ahead.
isn't listed here is, and I think I was guilty of this a lot more in the past and less so now, is trade off between the gold value of the unit versus the component itself, or if
Yeah,
there's a key unit that you want. Um, yeah, I think in the past I was like valuing the gold value too much, and then I think now I just primarily just focus on the component unless it's like pretty much like a forecast ideal forecast.
yeah, it really depends if it's if you consider it a core component or item or not, right? And this is obviously like is somewhat subjective. You can argue this based on stats, helps make this more objective. But yes, in that I agree with you for sure. You're almost always willing to take a one cost champion to secure your core components, right? You need Rageblade Stage 3. 2 more gold is not going to. You may even get more gold by taking the one cost champion because you will win streak Stage 3, right? With that item, and you will
Mm-hmm.
make the gold back. As opposed to you don't take it, you take 2 more gold now, but it's short sighted as far as your gold goes because then you lose every round if you don't hit the Rage Blade naturally, for example. Um, yeah, so yeah, it's definitely important to view, uh, to think about, do you really need a component to enable your comp, basically. Um, with core archetypes, I guess what one, yeah, I can briefly cover this, but one useful way to like think of components overall in item economy is just breaking down your overall itemization setup into a bunch of components, right? So like TF, for example, you need rod, bow, and then 4 offensive components. Ideally, another rage blade, but like rod, bow, 4 offensive components, and then in the front line you need 6 defensive-ish components. And so then on stage 3 carousel, you just look at your overall balance and you try to balance out your overall distribution to match this distribution, right? And so even though like the item you're taking may not complete something right now, if you feel like it's helping you get towards this balance, you're helping your overall setup, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Similarly to like brand Ziggs, you can list out all the components you need, right? You need sword, tier, rod, glove, belt, glove. If you believe brand needs Bis, which I feel like he needs close to Bis to do anything. Ideally, you have Shiv, Morello / red buff on Ziggs, and then 6 defensive-ish components on Nico. So as you can see, as I mentioned earlier, it's a lot of offensive components. So then when you're in a spot where I think this is most useful when you're in a spot where you have no open component, right? You're sitting on like 2 full items completed, and then your question is, well, what do I take now for my open component? And usually you want to just balance out your line, right? If you already have 2 offensive items, maybe you consider taking a defensive one. And if you already or that one is a little more difficult because a third item can truly spike you, but uh, but if you're like, for example, the more obviously, if you have 3 offensive components, obviously you take 3 offensive items, you obviously take a defensive one.
Okay.
Uh,
Another maybe related tactic is assuming you don't have a immediate slammable item, and let's say we're using like a Ziggs brand example. Trying to think like when you're breaking it down into this offensive defensive component, more like trying to plan down the road when you don't have anything immediately slammable, is also considering your bags, like
yeah, I was gonna say I'd be remiss to not mention component bags
yeah,
for
because
sure.
then you could try to optimize for what is more likely to drop in the bag on the next creep round so that you hopefully have a higher odds of a slammable good item.
Yeah, for those that aren't familiar with component bags, basically the more you naturally drop a given component in the early game or through the PvE, the less likely you are to drop those components later on. It's like the shorter version of it. So if you've already naturally dropped several offensive components, you're more likely to drop not those exact components. I guess it doesn't mean you are slightly more likely to drop more defensive the more offensive you drop. But more precisely, you're just less likely to drop those exact components that you've already dropped. Yeah, so basically, if you already natural tiers, you're less likely to get tiers. So you're more likely to drop defensive components. So maybe if you're at an equal balance of frontline and backline, you probably can take. If you're trying to maintain balance, you can take more backline items because then you're more likely to drop frontline. it isn't like a massive swing in terms of probability, but it definitely exists. So in at points where it's like you're 50-50, you can definitely use it to help you make decisions. I think that's mostly what I wanted to yap about. I had some comments about like particular carousel rounds, but uh, I think this will be more evident. And yeah, I think like stage 2 carousel can be hard sometimes when you have zero direction. And so one like overall guideline I have with this, I kind of didn't get through this whole section, so I'll just briefly talk about the stage 2 carousel, then we can go to the games. If you have clear direction, I think stage 2 carousel is not too difficult. It's when you have no direction that it starts to become challenging, I think. So a good example is you slammed like a Sunfire or some frontline item, and then you have you have either no open component or you have like a glove. And when your spots look like these, I think general advice I have for these spots are if you have direction towards 2 to 3 lines, you can try to take a component that works for all these lines. That's one. And obviously, you want these 2 to 3 lines to be good lines, right? As I was mentioning earlier, S tier lines, uncontested, things like those. So an example of this is your Sunfire open tier, right? Then these lines are probably like Vex or Brand, right? Potentially, right? Let's say you have like Jin pair and your like Sunfire open sword. Maybe you consider like Marksman is not the best, but maybe you have a Jarvan already and you have a Jin pair and no one is playing this line. Everyone's contested Zeri, the AD lines. Then maybe this is one of your 2 to 3 lines you can consider open, and now you can take like a glove, right? And this glove can still work for Zeri, but can also work for this Vanguard Marksman line. Maybe you can still play Rengar from your spot if no one's playing it, and maybe you had a good augment for Rengar on 2-1. So, yeah, you take a component that works for all the lines ideally. If you have zero direction whatsoever, let's say no one's committed to any line. It's hard to even know what to play towards. I think that's when you can lean towards higher gold value and offensive components, because most lines tend to really value. Most lines starting like stage 3, stage 4 really are screwed if you don't have triple offensive, and so you'd much rather have an abundance of offensive in most lines than having an abundance of defensive. A duo backliner carry setup is usually much better than a duo frontline carry setup or tank setup. And obviously, don't forget that units with items can give you direction. So let's say you don't have any direction, but all of a sudden there's a Fiddlesticks with a tier, and let's say it is loot sub portal where you can get an artifact or a spat. Then now this fiddle with tier is actually insane, right? Even though you had zero direction, that fiddle with tier represents a lot of direction. And then of course spat and pan is very high value when you have no direction as well. Can be very high value depending on the portal, depending on the value of emblems in that given patch. Cool. Okay, I think I this is kind of a long section on talking about stuff a lot. Hopefully this will feel more useful as we revisit this stuff as we look through decisions. You down to jump into some? Oh, go ahead.
One
Yeah.
comment on the span pat, more so for and spat for stage 4 is I think I've probably greeted too often, like playing for the high cap. But I guess that just really depends on like by taking a pan or spat without the extra component you need, you're basically like gambling. It's like I forget what are the odds that you get an anvil on stage 4 creep versus components.
An anvil versus like if you get just an anvil versus component and anvils. And you always get one anvil, right? I think what helps with that decision making is one, like, are there a few other spats that give you like some value? So for example, like, can you get Bastion or +1, like when you're playing TF, can you get +1 Dynamo or +1 Rapid Fire if you miss on Syndicate, right? Is an example. It starts to open up your odds to not just be hitting one. So that is one consideration for sure. How gambly is it really for your line? Are you going for just one, or can you still get value out of some, right? Like a Bastion spat, like compare the value of a Bastion pan. Let's say you wanted some other thing, but you get a Bastion pan. Compare that to the value of another full item. it's not that far at that point. Maybe you could argue that the full item is better, but hey, at least you're not losing full value. You're not sitting on like one component and one spatula that does nothing for you, right? Which in that scenario, I would say obviously you should not have taken the Panner spat if you had no other outs.
Okay.
And then obviously the other thing is do you need to prioritize current board strength, or are you allowed to greed like this, right? And of course, this depends on the state of the lobby. If there's already a 10th Street Demon in the lobby and you're sitting at 20 HP, then you probably don't go for this, right? Well, it depends though. If you feel like you must play for a win somehow, or your spot can't play for a win, then you could go for it and try to beat the 10th Street Demon player, right? Conversely, if you're way ahead in HP and you're willing to, run the risk of maybe your risk is only like dropping to a 5th or a 4th because you have all this HP as a buffer, then yeah, then maybe you go for it and try to risk the first, right?
Are you guaranteed a component anvil at the end of stage 4?
Yes, except for ASOL portal, right? The portal
Okay.
where you get but even there, you're almost, depending on how much gold you have, like you're near guaranteed to find the component you want. Like you're gonna be willing to spend all this gold to find your choice of component, and you may even get another spat or pan, which could give you a fawn if you want that. Yeah. Yes, I would say an ASOL portal, you probably really like getting pan on stage 4 carousel. But in every other portal, you're guaranteed to get an anvil on stage 4.
So in the worst case, it's how many components are there? Is it 50%?
You're offered 4, and then it's eight choices each, right? I think it's 50-50, right? To find.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So you're offered 4.
if you only have one out, it's 50, but if you have two outs, then you have much better odds. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. You down to jump into the VOD? I was mostly just gonna go over each. I've watched a few of these, but basically jump to each decision point, and then try to predict what decision Setsuko will make, and try to reason through it.
Okay.
Let's do it. This is from 2 days ago. This portal is Egg Portal.
He did not play in the trials, right?
No, he was. I don't think he signed up. I think he either signed up later or something. But he was good enough to qualify for Cup. But I don't even know if he signed up for the Cup. Okay, so let's just skip his decision because we're not trying to do augments here. We'll just assume that what he picks is, well, we'll just know what he picks is what he picks, and then we'll decide on slams from there. This augment is pretty good right now. Good for Vex, good for Slayers. So this is our board. I assume he's not going to roll here. This is like the entirety of what we'll see in this spot. What decisions, what item slams, if any, are we making here, do you think?
If we want to keep both lines open towards either, well, this seems more of like a Vex angle than a Slayer angle since we don't have any bows. Which Guardbreaker would be good for Vex, but we don't really have a slammable, like we don't really have a good carry for it. So Sunfire seems to make more sense. Open Glove can make Guardbreaker later on Vex. That's if we care about streaking, which, I mean, just the gold value itself is probably worth it.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I would say we have an upgraded Bruiser that'll hold Sunfire really well. So then I think it would go under our factor of like, do we have a board that can save HP? Does making an item save a significant amount of HP? Yes, right. It saves a lot of, because you get to put it on. Do you want to be strong at the moment? I mean, we invested in a 2-star Mundo, assuming we don't sell it off. So I think following our logic here, I think it makes sense, right? Put on the Mundo, probably level. It's hard to justify slamming a guard breaker here when open chain is not even that good. I guess I haven't talked too much about the open component you get left over.
Yeah,
that is obviously another factor here with item economy is when you make an item out of a 3-component combo, what is the remaining component you have, and how good is that for your next item and your overall build? And guard breaker here doesn't truly help you spike further, right? Whereas Sunfire, given its utility, it doesn't stack off other items anyway. And you know you need it no matter what. So yeah. So he does go for the Sunfire here. But he fights Neferi 2, Jax 2, and loses anyway. Level slam into kill 0 units. So he now decides to pivot off that strong board to make econ, but let's jump to the component decision here.
So given that we are not trying to preserve streak, this probably falls under get a tier or bow. Like, I assume someone's called Vayne by this point. Most likely.
Well, he won the round though. Oh, that is really loud. He won the round.
Oh, okay.
He won two. He won two, and
okay.
3. So there is a potential. He also has a Silas upgraded. He sold his Mundo, but he found a Silas too. So this is why is this so loud? He sold his Mundo, but found Silas too, and then yeah, this is the board state right here.
Okay, so this also falls under the condition of like don't burn a remover.
Yeah, it definitely would be stronger on the Silas to some degree, but the thing is, yeah, -1 remover here when you like. Yeah, especially because if you're playing a line that plays around Silas, which you're not guaranteed to, like you're gonna want to remove it off him again later on. So then you're really hamstringing yourself in terms of number of removers. But
okay. Assuming we do
yeah,
want to preserve streak, it's belt. If we want to optimize for Vex, it's probably tier.
Why is it belt if you're preserving streak?
Slam Guardbreaker. Although we still don't have like a good backliner.
Oh, actually, I think the strongest, if you truly want to preserve streak here, I think the strongest
TG.
item is either is TG or Steadfast. With the new buff to Steadfast, you stack items.
Oh yeah. I feel like building 2 tank items early is so bad.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's good to do that. But I just
okay, yeah.
as far as arguing what the strongest board is, I think it's TG
right.
first, Steadfast probably second.
And both of those kind of screw you later when we're talking about the whole like, do you get to 3 item carry?
Yeah, does it delay? Does being either of those items delay your 3 item carry? The answer is obviously yes. Yeah, for sure. If you go for those lines, and we're not, even if you're on a 3 streak, for example, here, it'd be very questionable to go for either of those because your game plan is so hard at that point. Okay. So we have a 2 streak. We have open glove. So this falls under our like kind of. We have some direction because of our augment, right? It's either like there's Divinicore Z, Divinicore Vex in this current patch, and Vayne. He's looking at this guy. This guy has a 2 Slayer, Vayne, Senna, and this thing where you get components on level up. So this guy's probably Vayne, right?
Yeah.
You can even tell based on what component he takes. He's almost certainly going to take bow, and then he takes bow. You already know he's Vayne for sure. But let's see what he's looking at the other players. He notice how he's scouting and trying to figure out what people are playing to help him decide what he takes.
Okay, Farland's taking bow, so definitely committed.
Yeah, the Vayne player takes bow.
So here probably take tier.
Yeah.
I guess we could take Pan if we really want to play for upside of like well, oh wait, we have board of directors, so I guess more Divinicore is not good.
Oh yeah, yeah, it has to be like executioner if you're playing Vex, but you kind of want the glove anyway. Yeah, it'd be kind of hard to use the pan, I think, in board of directors. It'd just be like for a plus, just to upgrade something to like a 2-piece or a 4-piece.
Alright, so if we can't get a tier, okay, we can't get a tier.
Yeah, so tier because white tier.
We want blue buff for Vex.
Yeah, core item and then also 3 cost, right? Okay. Jump to 6. Good decision point here because lots of items makes it a little more challenging. But
so yeah,
this one is obvious. He makes the blue buff. He's now you know for sure he's thinking, which should have been obvious already. He's guaranteed Vex, but what does he do with the remaining item?
Yeah, pull up my notes on this Vex board. Still don't know it that well. Let me see. Okay, probably Vow for Sejuani later, and then save the Rod and Glove for Gunblade and Guardbreaker. Did he not make Econ there? Okay, well, it's fine. We don't.
Ding ding ding. Yeah, yeah, you're right. I think the logic you said is perfect. Did he not make econ there? Let me see. I don't think he had the choice to, right? He couldn't sell for econ. He bought this and then
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Val was right.
Here he's still keeping the Sunfire on the. I mean, he's gonna sell the Silas later, right?
The thing is, he's on a 2 loss, right? When you're in a 2 loss, I
Uh,
feel like it doesn't matter that much. I feel like
okay.
it doesn't matter that much. Yeah. If anything, I would prefer to take a small loss. A small loss here because you don't break your streak. You can get a 4 streak and then a 5 streak loss. Like I'd rather just sack some little bit of HP versus like if I move the Sunfire, it can hurt both my remover situation and my streak situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like it's not like we're so low in HP that we're so worried about like if I get into a 5 loss streak here, it's fine, right? Like sure our HP won't be amazing, but it doesn't screw our game in any meaningful way.
Okay.
Yeah, let's jump to carousel. Let's make sure he doesn't take an item augment here. I thought this was an interesting decision. I like it a lot because he's kind of poor. He takes item grab bag for gold and he just dupes.
Oh, interesting.
Similar to how you would do it on stage 2 in the last set, oftentimes
Wait,
for tempo.
item
He's not
remover
playing.
overselling? He values Morg 2 that much?
Oh, if you didn't know, Morg 2 is necessary in this line. You can't tell it, Morgana. You cannot. You must be
Without
playing
items?
Morgana 2 is better than Aurora on level 8.
Well,
Because your
oh,
carries are Vex and Varus.
but okay. Is this a Divinicore thing where the star level affects the Divinicore buff?
Oh, it doesn't, but Morgana having an upgraded unit still changes your board strength. Like it will like that's the difference between pumping out like 1.5k versus like 0 damage. Like if you think about your early game, like stage 2, the 2-star 1 cost is still like gonna swing fights, right? You definitely like realize how much a 2-star 1 cost swings fights in stage 2. And when a lot of the board clears up, like if your opponent doesn't have an upgrade and you do with the shitters, it'll still make a difference.
Okay.
Yeah, especially when you're like these 1 costs are so hard to 2-star again later on that I would rather just have the 2-star quite likely here. Like if I sell this Morgana, the likelihood I 2-star this unit is so low now. Maybe not low, but like it starts to become a real possibility that you never 2-star Morgana.
That.
Let's jump to the item selection. He's looking at his unban request mid game, as he does.
I would have never made that choice.
To remove her the Morgana.
Yeah. Or no, well that and the duplicators.
The dupe, yeah. I was thinking about it. I was going through the decision. I don't know if I would have either, but it makes perfect sense because it gives so much gold. It also gives us so much strength. He can maybe even 5 streak here. He needs econ because he already took a combat augment, right? On 2-1. Just as far as augment balance goes.
I guess in my mental model it's like duplicators is combat power now and sacrifice later, but actually it's basically just econ because it generates gold and preserves HP, which later on is econ.
Yeah, it generates gold and it gives gold as well. I think it gives 9 gold.
Oh yeah.
It gives 9, which is like a good amount of gold. Yeah.
All right, so we want sword for Gunblade and belt for Guardbreaker. If we could choose the order, it would be probably Guardbreaker before Gunblade. Although I guess we have Vow and Sunfire, but it's not on the same unit right now. So then I think Gunblade's probably less valuable for the healing value. We just want more burst. And we have
As far as I know, Gunblade is considered like a super core item on Vex because it enables her passive, or her spell's passive, which is the overhealing, converted to true damage. People don't know yet. I think it is the case, but we're not 100% sure if Gunblade contributes to the true damage. You know what I'm talking about with Vex true damage?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so I've heard people argue that it's good on her because the stats really like it on her. I've heard people argue that it's good on her because it keeps her topped up, so she's always overhealing, and so she's always proccing the true damage. But the other thing I've heard is that it contributes the healing from Gunblade, which overheals her and potentially someone else, usually just her, because it's healing a low HP unit, contributes to the true damage. And so, if I'm not people tend to view Gunblade as core as well. So blue buff and Gunblade core, third item is flexible.
So I feel like this kind of falls in the category of what we were discussing around like our bag dropped a belt, right? That's what we had in stage 2, or end of stage 1.
Yeah.
If like our odds of getting a sword are pretty high from the like end of stage 3.
Yeah.
And so I guess this falls under the category of like if we want to play for max upside, we could get, if we got a belt here, then we have pretty high odds of hitting a sword, and then having a 3-item this in stage 4 before stage 4 carousel. Whereas if we pick a sword here, like,
is it high odds to hit the sword? I don't think it's high odds. I think it is higher odds to hit sword than other components, but I don't think it means it's high odds. I still think the odds of hitting a sword are not high on 3-7. Like just because we have a natural sword, it doesn't mean now our odds are like 80%. I think the odds of the components we drop are all going to look like sword is like. I mean, we can compute it out if we really wanted to, but I would imagine the odds are like 20% sword, 16% other stuff, something like that.
I think it has to be higher than that, right? Like usually you get dropped like 2 or 3 components.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we're dropped 3 components, it should be higher than 20%. But
so the way the bags work is on stage 2, we're given two of each sorry, is it one of each component? One of each component, right? On stage 2.
yeah, and then another one of each on stage 3.
And then another one of each on stage 3. And then on stage 4, sorry, on Krugs. And then on Wolves, we're given a third one of each, right? Which means we have a total of 8 times 3, 24 components in the bag, right? Is that right? Let me like share my sheet.
Okay, yeah, that sounds right.
Here. So we have 20 by Wolves. Assuming it's like there isn't some shenanigans with like 6 item drops, 6 component drops on stage 1 or something. It will be 8 on stage 1, 8 on Krugs, 8 on Wolves, right? So then
Well, he had
24
extra components drop on end of stage 2, more than usual, right? And none of them were swords.
Yeah, so we can see how many components he's dropped at this point. It's I'm not to compute this out because do you think this is useful? I think it'd be useful for us.
I think it's
to,
useful.
Like, round. Yeah. So he's dropped at this point. What did he take off carousel? He took a tier, right? So he's dropped everything except the tier. So belt, chain. Where is this? Dropped belt, chain, tier, rod. What else? Belt, chain, tier, rod, chain, glove. He's dropped these, right?
Was that 7, 2, 4, 6, 7? And then he should
7?
have 8 components. Does he have 8 components right now? Because he took tier off of carousel, right?
Yeah. Let me see. Make sure he has 8, 4. Yeah, he has 8. Perfect. Okay, so
yeah.
this is correct. So then that means he has 7. He has -7, so he has 17 components remaining, right,
Yeah.
in his bag, and 3 of these are swords, right?
Yeah. And so if he gets
And then
dropped,
let's say he drops. Let's say he gets dropped. I don't know, 4 components, right?
is that
The
expected
odds.
if he was dropped
It's like
5 on stage 2?
I don't know what the expected number of component drops
Okay.
is. I'm just like randomly saying
Okay,
3 to
yeah.
4, but I don't know. Let's say it's 4 or 3. What do you think?
I would
3. I
think
probably
3, but I mean, we
so
could
if
compute both and see what the odds are.
it's 3, the odds he hits sword are what, like 1 minus the odds he misses, right? Which is
Yeah.
like on the first one it's 14 out of 17, right?
Yep.
And then on the next one it's what is this?
13
13
over
out of
16.
16 times 12 out of 15, right?
Yeah.
And we just do this math. I don't know if this formats. I assume it formats correctly. Oh, I'm off. I'm way off on my math. On my initial mental
Yeah. And
approximation.
if you do this with 4 components, it's like very high probability of hitting.
If you do this with 4 components, yeah, it's hard to go. Is it very, very high? Let's see. So now it's 11 out of 14, right? 1 minus this. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
about
Like
58.
58% chance of
Yeah,
hitting.
58%. Yeah, I mean it's way off. I was way off on my. Well, I said 20 compared to. I was way off on that. I still maintain that leaving your entire like core component up to 50-50 is still not great.
Mm.
But I will say that my initial thing was like embarrassingly off. But what are your odds of other, just as a comparison point, what are your odds of other components? So let's say your odds of tier are abysmal, right? Your odds of tier are, you only have 1 remaining, right? As a comparison point. So
Yeah.
here this becomes 16, this becomes 15, this becomes 14, and this becomes 13, right? And these odds now are 24% chance, right? So it's half odds of finding another tier. And if you are looking for what a belt or a glove from these drops, this is these all are like 2 off the denominator. And so this is about 43%, right? Of finding, assuming 4 component drops, you're about 58% chance of finding a component you haven't dropped, 43% of finding a component that you've dropped once, and 24% of finding a component you've found twice.
Yeah.
So given that, while I can agree with you that the odds we find a sword are much better now. Now that I've done the math with you, the odds are much better than if you
I think we were on stage 3 carousel, right?
yeah, right here. I would still maintain that I would take sword here because not because I'm stubborn, but because an abundance of swords in this line is not even bad. Because you can use Shojin on Vex and you can use GS on sorry, you can use Shojin on Varus, you can use GS on Varus, you can GS your 3rd item on Vex. You can sword items on Viego, who you really want to get to eventually, or Renekton. But yeah, I think I'm valuing the also, does it not allow us to slam instantly? We also slam a oh, I guess you're saying with belt you would slam guard breaker, right?
Yeah. And like so I agree with you that gunblade is probably more core, but also from what's stronger right now, like healing last item usually is more effective than healing second item, right? But of course,
Yeah,
this goes back to core, like what's really core.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right that guard breaker is stronger now as well. And you can also make the argument that that you're on a 3 streak, and so then strongest now could also matter more, right? Potentially. And so I think given all the discussion we're making, my stance is not as strong as it initially was. And I don't think it's as obviously in my mind sword anymore, given the discussion on the odds, the discussion on current strength. I still think it's Gunblade, but yeah, I forget what he takes now.
Another
But
factor would also be like if you had he has one reforger right now, but if he had like two remove or reforgers, I feel like I would almost certainly pick belt over sword. Because
if you had,
your odds of
because your odds of
missing
finding
are
sword are
like
so high.
so slow. Oh yeah. I mean, I guess you reforge a single component. Like, what are the odds that you hit a sword? But you reforge so it's like the odds that you of the what um the odds that you get a sword off of stage 3 wolves is we said 58% if it's 4 components, and then you have to do the odds of that plus like 2 reforges missing a sword as well.
But I guess I don't know if the strength of having a guard breaker now is truly like, does that warrant accepting taking odds versus a guarantee? I feel like I'd rather just take the guarantee, and then the reforger, if anything, allows me to get out of like a double sword drop later on. Is how I would view it. But
Okay, and you get an extra gold right now.
yeah, you do get the extra gold for sure from the FLEOs.
And extra belts isn't necessarily bad for like more frontline anyway, because the exotech.
No, it's not. It also gives you oh, here it is, anti-heal, I guess. Yeah, it can give you more frontline. I forget what his exotech item is. His 3 and 5 exotech items are. But
Yeah,
that could factor in for sure because you might have an abundance of frontline items. But yeah, it depends on what excess of frontline or backline do we prefer, and a lot of that depends on the exo item actually.
Mhm.
I would think in this line, excess of offensive is better because you get to itemize Varus and then Aurora and then Viego, as opposed to like more belts just goes on Mordekaiser and Sejuani, and we already have 2 frontline items, right?
Right. Although with EXO, you can just like have EXO seems like one of the only lines in this set that you don't mind having 2 full tank.
Yeah. Oh, he gets the choice. He gets the choice.
Okay.
Oh. I mean, obviously we should. Yeah. I mean, obviously I'm biased to want to believe my decision was correct. So I'm gonna feel like this is obviously correct, but at the same time, this should not sway your decision like that much. All we know is Setsuko decided for this, and that's it.
Yeah. Also seems
I think it's
unlikely
still useful
that
to have our arguments.
my guess is nobody has really done this math before.
Oh, to think through potentially. I'm sure a good number of people have, but at the same time, like it's just no matter what, it was definitely a useful exercise. I think at least for me, and it sounds like for you as well.
Yeah.
Oh, he's thinking about duping the thing. Let's jump to the next item decision so we don't dwell on this too much.
Totally gonna
the other argument I will say is the glove is easy to complete, right? This can also be a JG.
Yeah.
You don't even mind.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he already can crit, but you get bonus crit from JG. Sorry. I saw one of your videos. They were saying Vex's.
I say all the genders wrong all the time. I just need to convert to gender neutral.
Okay. Pound Sejuani.
Sword.
Hopefully, let's see how many components. Oh,
okay.
He just knew. Oh no, he knew. We both, everyone knew. So now what? Now we reforged the sword, right? But now what? We have to decide.
Okay, so now it's Guardbreaker. Yeah, reforged sword makes sense.
It's Guardbreaker, reforged sword, and then decide after. Yeah, I agree with you on that. This is egg. We won't cover this. I would probably take 9 here as well. And then I'm expecting sword reforge. Does he not reforge? He just slams cloak. Interesting. I guess he's on a 2 loss. He's probably waiting for augment. I'm curious to see if he ends up reforging it at all or not. Let's skip augment selection. We're not deciding on this. Found a reasonably good roll down minus the Vex.
Is there an angle where you go for at least 3 there?
I don't think so. I've definitely obviously go for Varus 3 if it is within reach, but I don't think you ever go for at least 3 in this line. Like you could try, but I feel like it'd be kind of dizzy. So he actually opts to just save the component. Interestingly enough,
he thinks he's strong enough.
It makes sense in the regard. Okay, actually, as I think about it more, I forgot to look at his third item here. Your next best his exo item. His next best item is a Varus item here. So reforging, if anything, reforging sword is not the component you want to reforge, right?
Yeah, so cloak would be better, but
you probably want this for spark, right? If you're gonna make something next,
okay,
like
yeah.
a shred item. And so yeah, I think I didn't factor in the fact that he had I forget the name, cyber coil. And so like if he gets any defensive item, it's not of value any way at all. And the balance of these components is not even bad, right? This is like these are both Varus components. This is potentially a utility component, which is good, right? There are very few slams you can do now that even do anything because they just throw on a first item on a unit.
The reforging cloak then could make a slammable item on Varus too, which could be fight diff. So part of it depends on like scouting.
I think the thing is the jump from 0 item to 1 item is the smallest item jump, right? The jump from maybe if I haven't made that clear, maybe I should in this item economy discussion, but the jump from 2 item to 3 item is the biggest jump because the number you're getting at the end from the multiplication on base stats and 2 items from a third item gives you the biggest final value. Whereas multiplying just base from 0 item to 1 item is the smallest delta. And so I assume he's deciding here that the jump to 1 item is just not worth potentially screwing the balance of these components. Even though I don't think it's bad to forge cloak here. Maybe he forges it here anyway, but I'm also a little surprised that he rolls deeper here, but I guess he just knew. Oh, he reforged cloak. I do think chain is like the one component you don't want though.
Yeah, get another vow.
I think it's the only one.
Oh, it's just you just make steadfast.
I assume you don't make anything here, but yeah. Let's just see. Let's end on the stage 5 carousel, I guess.
Okay. Ideally, it's kill sword, or I guess glove would make strongest, but sword. I mean, killing sword lets you build steadfast if it makes fight div, which I think in this phase you just want to try to full streak stage 4.
I feel like I'm Viego for sure.
Viego with
Rod,
JG or Gunblade.
Probably just make a JG, but the thing is, Viego's hard to fit right now is the thing. But Viego is so easily like the next in and is so good for the board. Spread techie and it's 2+2 units. You never are guaranteed this unit. We are basically 0 gold though, but I feel like it's hard to not take Viego here because it still gives you an item slam, right?
Are you playing the Viego?
It's hard. That's the thing. It's hard to fit in the board right now. We'd have to drop. I forget. Is the last exo the
hollow bow?
It's the hollow bow. You could play it over Jax, right? Potentially. Or over Jin. Probably over Jin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would take Viego, but because it also gives you an item, right? What was your consideration here? You're saying you want to kill the chain?
I was thinking tier for Shojin.
Kill it for Shojin? Yeah.
And then if something is fight diff, then we could slam steadfast. Because you need to kill the vest anyway, and you don't want another Sunfire. So it's really just Vow or steadfast.
No, you could take Viego and go Edge of Night, right?
Oh yeah.
You could even that. You could. I mean, I don't know.
So far away from that though.
But
you could go like you want to build the 3 item Varus first, right?
Oh, does it have to be? I feel like it has to be a 3 item unit, right? It could be I guess you have hollow bow, so it does get you faster to a 3 item to keep exo on. But I feel like this represents so much gold is the reason why I'm valuing this. Gold and strength. Because like how much gold is it to find one Viego? I feel like it's so much, and it actually spikes your board a lot. But I don't think you get a Viego with Rod anyway, though. So I hope he gets the choice again now. But his choice. Yeah, he had choice between Tier and Viego. The thing is, Tier is also one cost, right?
Yeah.
And I assume now we play Viego over the Jin.
Or Morgana. Morgana is that important for the Vex?
We're board of directors, right? You can't really. This gives you like 30 AP on whole board or some ridiculous amount of AP on your Vex.
Okay.
I don't know if we play it over Jin. I think you do. You see, he takes it to not even play it. Interestingly enough,
He doesn't slam Gunblade.
what did he do with the? Oh, he made a steadfast. Interestingly, on his Gragas.
Yeah, situations like this, I can never tell whether to slam like the Gunblade or not.
I feel like it. I guess it's the second item on this unit. I wonder if he would have slammed it if it was fight diff here. I'm not sure. Anyway, we can see if he slams it in this fight, maintaining just deciding on an item decisions. I guess he didn't have to. He's pretty strong, right? I mean, he's very strong actually. He's double combat, basically everything important upgraded. I mean, not everything, but like most of it. The really important stuff is
He
upgraded.
sold the Viego too.
He sold it. Wow, he really just wanted Rod, or he just decided to. When did he sold? He sold it last turn. I guess he's so far from leveling, but that's surprising to me. It is Aurora best next in, but better than Viego.
We're still missing Spark.
Yeah.
Probably just click them.
Spark GS.
Yeah.
I don't like how it's two item, but I can definitely see the logic in that. Because you can argue that Spark is like a fourth item on your Vex, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you at least have like a holder with an item to hold it. The Gragas. So it's not like a Spark that's gonna die instantly.
And I think at this point, Vex is still probably dealing like 80% of the team damage. Like,
yeah.
So-
Well, you could argue that won't be the case if you go Death Cap GS. Like, yeah, you're lacking mana is the thing, but Death Cap GS at that point, your Varus is now doing like probably 40% of the damage, 35.
Right. Although, like with the shred, you could argue that the total output's probably still higher with the spark.
Potentially, yeah. I'm actually not sure. I'm curious what he goes for, but I think that is the discussion. That is a thought you should have in your mind, obviously, here in terms of which one is more DPS. I think he's doing the exact same thing. He's looking at the damage and saying, how much does it death? I assume because and he goes for spark.
That's where if he actually had the Viego, he could have gone for 3
because he has
death
shred.
cap. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually a little surprised that we wouldn't just play the Viego over the Jin here. I don't unless we think that the Exotech stats from 3 to 5 are that important. Yeah. Okay, and then our last thing here is stage 5 Caro, I think. I guess we could just go through all of the Caro decisions. Like, why not? You said your hard stop today's at 5:30, so we could probably do a couple more games, maybe.
Yeah. But when did he get the? He got a Radiant Nasher.
Wait, where?
What is he missing now? He got a Radiant Nasher on his.
Wait, how?
Varus.
Wait, how?
Oh, from the egg.
Oh, the egg just gave a straight up radiant item.
Okay, so now he just needs a third tank item.
Yeah. Oh, he has an artifact now though. As well. He needs a tank item now, but now he has an artifact.
Okay. So then after he basically has to decide on a third item without knowing if he's gonna hit like a Aurora or a Viego.
Yeah.
So adaptive would be perfect here.
Yeah, it can be whatever, right?
Yeah.
It can be third item. You can move off the Sunfire and adaptive Sedge. You can move it again if you have. This is where not being not just using all your removers early can really help, right? You can optimize everything on stage 6 with 3 removers. You can remove a Gragas, remove a Sedge, remove your Varus. Even we could even radiant item the Vex. I'm surprised we actually didn't radiant item the Vex, but I'm not sure how good Nasher is on this Vex.
Yeah, adaptive.
Yeah. And then we'll see the artifact choice, which adds even more decisions. You can't play Renekton here, right? You have to drop something. I guess you drop Morgana. I don't think you drop Morgana though, from what I know in this line, because of the AP. Viego. So what is
Zonia,
this?
Zonia Viego.
I think this is a hard decision here.
Or Light Shield on your Sedge.
Yeah, that's what I'm not sure. Is it Light Shield Sedge?
I mean, that
And then
synergizes super well with the Gunblade healing for Vex.
yeah. I feel like this Viego not paired one item. I don't see like unless you really expect to get the Viego too, which in the spot I don't think is that realistic. Or is it realistic at all? I think the strongest currently is Light Shield. Zonia's on the backliners. These specific backliners are not very good at it in the stats. Um, so you move off the Sunfire, you Light Shield the Sedge, and you adaptive the Viego to just a guarantee cast to make the cast faster. Is what you could do.
Or
That's
would
what I'm thinking.
adaptive Nasher move GS be more effective to maximize Nasher like
Maximize the
uptime?
Paris. I can see that as well. It does delay the techie proc on Viego, but um, I think either sounds reasonable to me. I think maybe you could argue that optimizing your rating item is more important or more DPS, so then maybe that's better in that sense. Yeah. Looks like he's picking Zonia. Well, this is why he has a high win rate. If he hits Viego too, I'm pretty sure this guy wins on Viego too. But I'm not saying that's how this game goes. I'm pretty sure if he does hit Viego too, he wins because the Viego with Zonias is a monster on 2-star. And in fact, even on 1-star now, it's already
Yeah,
proving
even
to be a
one
monster.
star because after the Zonia procs, like Vex can just heal him back up.
Yeah.
Wait, was Viego second damage or was that the Varus?
The
Okay,
Varus.
that was the
The
Varus.
Viego still didn't do that much, but it stayed alive, continuously proccing Techie, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like he's winning out. Okay, I think I undervalue the strength of this board. He has an Aurora from his Viego now. I think we said we'd stop after. Let's just finish the game. I guess. See
Yeah,
the item
sure.
decision. Get the fruits of our labor. See the final result.
We have anti heal, so Guardbreaker or BT. So we want more
Yeah,
damage or we want more healing?
I'm actually not sure. I don't know. I think I would go BT, but I can see arguments made for both. Because he has so much EHP that the shield is going to be insane and the healing is going to be insane. Because he has resistance from adaptive, resistance from Zonias. But you can also make the argument that now he has no damage, so maybe. But he has a lot of AP from these two items, so I'm not sure. What do you think? What decision did you make here?
If we want maximize team damage, it'd be Guardbreaker, Varus, GS,
Viego, yeah,
Viego,
to get
right?
the glove value. I think you're right. That's actually better because you get crit value from the glove.
Yeah, I think I'd probably go for more damage.
Versus BT Viego. I wonder if he removers or if he just. He's definitely not removing now. Then he's just BT Viego.
I guess it depends. We didn't really scout. Like, depends on like against that brand Ziggs, the BT makes sense so that he doesn't get burst
Yeah, the
out.
Viego just never dies because the board kind of locks like single target. Beats Zeri Ghost, Hollow Bow. Doesn't play Renekton too, which I think makes sense. He does play Renekton too. Over yeah, over Egg. Oh, he prefers Hollow Bow because you could go replace these 2 units, right, with Renekton. Oh, but then you revert 4 Divinicore. Yeah, you can't. You can't.
Yeah, so late game we didn't really include in the dock, like countering your opponents with your item selection.
Yeah, that definitely should factor in. Look how much damage the Varus does, by the way. I guess it is a radiant item, but it's more than the Vex. And the
Oh
people are
wow.
arguing that's why this line is so good, is that the Varus as a duo is such a monster. That's the other reason why I don't mind Sword, because obviously it can go in Viego, but it can go in Varus, and Varus is really good in this line.
So he values the Viego over the. Can we see what items he forwent to?
Oh, sorry, we do. Yeah, I don't know why I just skipped this.
Like third
Oh,
item
I think
tank.
yeah,
Versus.
but it's on a Gragas, right? Like,
You
I
can
feel like
move
at this
it.
point, oh, like onto Sejuani, you're saying you would go,
Or no, he can
but
move the Spark and the Steadfast to the Mordekaiser, right? Like that's reasonably
oh, but
strong
I
for
guess
Exo.
I feel like the marginal value now of like, yes, it is a third item in a unit, but it's also a 6th tank item.
Mhm.
I guess you could argue it defends your Spark, but you also already have some Shred in Viego, who's very reliable with this itemization. So I would think that the spike of a Viego, the prospect of a Viego too, with a pair now, is much higher upside than a 6th tank item,
Mm.
which you're already guaranteed to get anyway in 2 rounds. I guess the question is, are you surviving 2 rounds? And is the Delta going to be a 6th tank item versus
Okay.
a sword? Yeah.
And actually, if you move the Gragas items to Mordekaiser, the sword counts as an Exotech, like full
Oh,
item
you can get
anyway,
stats
right?
in that regard. Yeah,
Yeah.
fair, fair. I wonder if he does that. He should, but I wonder if he does that. He sorted the Jin, interestingly enough. I mean, he still is getting Exotech value, but I feel like I agree with it should all go on Mord. Is this a third tank item diff? It might be.
Yeah.
You can also say it's a Viego 2 diff, but yeah.
I finally
Just
moved it
see.
over.
And he won. Oh. And now we Viego 2 win the game.
And the other person, oh.
Oh, he just knew. He never would have hit if not for this.
Okay, move adaptive off and then give that to
Adaptive,
Viego.
oh yeah, you got adaptive.
Mordekaiser.
Oh, adaptive Sedge. Adaptive Sedge. Sunfire
Oh,
Mord.
yeah.
This is why 3 removers is amazing.
Yes.
Well, actually, he only needs 2. He only needs 2, but he still has the excess to optimize further on stage 7 Carousel. He
Wow.
probably could have burned 1 remover this game. He's an excess. You want to have 0, I think, by 7-1. Right? If you have an excess, that means you didn't use all, but you want this, and then okay, surely you must. You must. I mean, he just didn't get to it. But you must. It's much better on Sedge.
Yeah,
As we all
yeah,
know,
agreed.
mana on Sedge is better.
But he's just like, I win anyway.
This is why he's only rank 1 at 1500 LP and not 1600 LP at the moment.
Why is
Sometimes
he not
2K.
putting the Sedge 2 from the left or right? Like, doesn't that not hit corner right now?
Oh, it's because you're fighting Zeri, right?
Okay.
Against Zeri,
Zeri,
typically
odds are she's in the middle.
you want middle, but then you usually when you're Zeri into Sedge, you want to position middle as well. Because then you can have the Zeri probably jump out of middle by the time the Sedge casts first. Yeah, this is 50-50 now. If the Zeri jumps this way, dodge. Zeri jumps this way, you hit. I think Zeri dodges, yeah.
That could have been adaptive diff, like
yeah,
Sedge
maybe
casting
right?
earlier.
Oh, and his whole backline got Sedged because they walked. I think he loses because of that. Does he?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's all Sedge RNG. Like his Sedge ulted nothing, and the opponent Sedge ulted his entire board.
Yeah, that was adaptive.
He's zooming in on it.
Wow.
Yep. Fun game. Fun game. I'm sure he's not happy with the outcome, but the Viego pick there was a cool decision. Next game.
Yeah, and also I think I guess he didn't end up playing the brand in Ziggs player, but more damage on that Viego instead of BT may have won the fight as well.
More damage on the Viego instead of.
Because the Viego
Yeah.
didn't deal more damage than the Vex.
Yeah. As opposed to the BT, you're saying instead of the BT, the GS pick from earlier. Yeah, I could see it. And then you could
Especially
argue
with
that's even
Zeri
in
bouncing around, you just need to like be able to one shot her instead of
just kill
like
it. Yeah, potentially. I could see that logic for sure. Yep. What a scrub. All right. Next game, Gold Augment.
Really quickly, can we
Sort of.
talk about like high level learnings from that game?
Yeah, let's do it. Sorry, I'm trying to get as many games in as possible, but at the same time, I think we should definitely, if there's value in doing a recap, let's do it for sure. Recap of the game. Did you have? I think you were taking notes, right? Did you want to?
Okay, so I did not take notes.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So I think one of the things we were discussing was like kind of how bag size affects carousel choice, specifically stage 3.
So the odds were based on we were saying for wolves, assuming a similar number of item drops. Not even just assuming that it is 3 components, and for each component is in your bag 3 times by wolves. It was for a component you've never dropped. It was like 58% chance of finding it, right? Given 3 or 4 component drops, I think
That was
given
4 component drop on
given
Stip.
4 component drops, it's 58% chance. And if it was a component you've already dropped once, it is something like 40. I want to say 42%.
Yeah,
What I remember.
right.
42. So you are definitely more favored to find it, but it's still not in the order of like 80. Yeah, it's still closer to 50. And then that's one major takeaway for sure. We're talking about like core components, right? And I don't know if he decided on the sword because he didn't know the odds of finding a sword later on. I would still argue personally that I would still, knowing those odds, go for the sword because I can use an abundance of swords, and because it's the core item that I think is really good with this unit. And then other key decisions.
The whole point about first item is not as valuable from a slam perspective than second or third item, which I think affected how he greeted the sword and rod in stage 4.
For sure. Yeah. I think eventually it became a second item because he was exotech on it. But he still didn't slam then. But yeah, definitely third item is what's more valuable. I think those are like the more major takeaways. The rest were like more like nuances, I think.
I think the last thing that jumped out to me was just how he saved removers so much, which came in really handily.
Yeah, he saved removers, and I would say he saved them around, like in the same way that we've talked about this before. It is around his streak, right? I'd be surprised if he truly saved his removers as aggressively. If he greeted them as aggressively, if he was on win streak, because a lot of this game, in early game, he was loss streaking, right? Or like not on a serious win streak. Like here, he started winning here. Did he move it on?
No.
So he still didn't move it here. Interestingly enough, did he move it next turn?
And it's in it 298. I mean, one reason why I turned banning guys right now.
Oh, classic.
You could be too focused on banning people than
He didn't. Okay, on a 2-win here, I would have already moved it personally.
Yeah.
Well, he's only 1 remover though. He's only 1. Oh, because he removed it on Morgana. Yeah, I think it's scary to go down to 1 remover is the issue. But does he remove it here? Still no. And is this a remover diff? Yeah. It is. This is a remover diff.
And
for sure, right?
This scrub.
It is for sure. But and he leveled and went to 30, so it actually got him a lot poorer by not. And he ended up with an excess of removers. So maybe you could argue maybe it was maybe I don't know, if he had a do-over, I wonder if he would sell. You could even if you really didn't want to burn a remover, you could sell the cane, right?
Yeah.
If you're truly playing for strongest, you sell the cane, put it on Silas. And I think it would be a diff here. I mean, it's hard to know that for sure, though. I mean, obviously, it's hard to know that.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. You go to going on to the next?
Yep. Does this YouTube channel post it every day for Setsuko's?
I think it tries to cover most of them, and then it's posted very regularly. Yeah.
His Twitch doesn't have this?
It's either delayed. Sometimes like he doesn't have the VODs enabled. Sometimes they get re-enabled. So I'm not really sure.
Huh.
Yeah. So I tend to just look through these if I want to look through his
Interesting.
games.
So this guy just sits there and records Setsuko's Twitch all the time.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how I feel about like trying to broadcast people using this widely because I don't know how he feels about this channel. But I mean, I use it for myself. This is all I'm gonna say, I guess. Does he do a exotech check? He does.
Hollow
Hollow
bow.
bow, chassis, lantern. Okay, Rengar. Hard to sell the Rengar. It's hard to sell anything here. Would you make econ here? Just as a
Mm, s-
non-item economy question.
I mean, these 3 costs are so good. What was the encounter?
Golden Gala.
I mean, if we are making econ, probably keep the cipher.
You must, yeah, you must keep ciphers. That means you're selling. If you're to make econ, you sell the right side.
But we also have a hollow bow. I feel like I would just keep.
Yep, same. I think it's almost like I think it's borderline insane to sell for econ here. So, and then watch him do it. No, I'm sure he doesn't do it. Kiyun is calling Vayne. We have 5 Alstars, but let's just jump to the item selection. Cipher.
Oh, okay.
Now you can sell it, right? Now we're cipher for sure. Like you could even cipher into Alistar. So you could argue you sell that you keep the Rengar. But sell the Alistar, keep the Rengar, cipher into Rengar.
Oh, left looks good.
Yeah, there's no item decision here, so let's just keep going. I assume. Wait. Oh, he's faking out, which you should. You definitely should at this level. Last second, he sells everything. And then let's jump to Caro. Another like 0 direction component only decision. First decision obviously is going to be Draven over everything, and then after that, it will be item economy logic.
And most likely it's just Zeri.
With Hollow Bow.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree. Hollow Bow on 3. You must. You can play Zeri with Draven. You can just play like regular 6/7. You can play so many variants. There's the MF variant as well, which is quite strong. Like I think it's 5 Exotech, 3 Syndicate.
I've not tried that one yet.
It shows up in the most comp pages. It's good, especially if you get stuck on Zeri 1, but you can find an MF 2. And you need dual carry items though.
This is such
No
a good
Draven?
setup. Just
What
take
component are
bow.
we taking here?
Bow,
No.
rod, sword, glove, but bow is like kind of the scarcest.
Hardest to get. 3 gold. Deny Rengar with bow. I don't know if anyone's playing Rengar, but you also deny the Vayne player the bow. Okay. Next component decision will be 3-1.
Is he slamming? Okay, no.
Yeah, we didn't slam yet. What are you slamming here?
I mean, first seed, make sure we don't win a fight. But if I were to slam something, it'd probably be adaptive open belt or redemption open cloak. Probably adaptive open belt. And then save the bow and glove for Rageblade IE.
I would have thought
Wait, why is he rolling? Oh, he's rolling for
he has free rolls, right? I think I'm also
okay.
like leading way more into these free rolls. You roll for LeBlanc for more cipher.
Or okay.
For more cipher, yeah. Just because, like, if you find LeBlanc in 5 rolls, you get more gold value out of the LeBlanc than you do out of 5 rolls, right?
Wait,
Like, you're stacking 10 gold here. Your odds of finding LeBlanc are pretty high.
he already had
10 gold.
LeBlanc. What happened to his LeBlanc?
Oh, wait, he already had it. Wait, did he sell it?
What? He must
Wait
have
a
made a
second.
mistake. What?
Rank 1 NA, by the way.
I was like, he's looking for
Oh, maybe he sold
Draven.
the... Did he?
Oh, because he thought he
sold
was
the-
gonna. He thought he was gonna win. Wait, what? What's he doing?
What is he doing? Yeah, and people are question marking him. Oh my, lol. Okay, why are we watching this guy again? Maybe because he's rank 1, but yeah.
Okay, so then the separate. I mean, it paid off because he has the Draven now, but it. Part of
If
the
you're
question
only
is,
3, would you roll
if you
for
already
4?
had, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm actually not. I thought he was rolling for 4, and I was like, I was just taking it like as if it was fine, but he didn't slam anything. I actually would have slammed even shroud if I ever slam an item, because your bow is always going to be rage, but your glove is always going to be IE. So you're never getting the last whisper, right? Or your last whisper is so far away.
Okay.
So I would, by that logic, I would even shroud.
And then tier would be better on as a vow anyway.
Yeah. Not bad as it out there, but yeah, better as Vow. And then let's see if there's an item pick here. I assume not. I assume little buddies. We'll go to Caro, where we're Zed over everything, and then
Rod, sword.
Rod or Sword. I would think Rod first because actually
This
I
is
would think Rod
where
first because
Mhm.
because you have an out of bad luck protection.
Bad luck protection.
The augment bad luck protection. If you don't hit IE, you don't care if you have bad luck protection.
Oh, I see.
And you can also hit like Jewel Lotus. There are like a few outs, right? For no IE. Whereas Rage Blade is just Rage Blade.
Right.
I don't know if I would take. I think I would still take Rage Blade over for like a cheaper Rage Blade over a more expensive IE. I don't think I would just default to gold value.
Like 4 cost versus 1 cost, you still take Rod.
Oh, at that big of a discrepancy, I'm not sure anymore. I feel like at that point we are pretty rich, but at that point, I probably would take the sword. I don't know if I'd be happy with it, but I think I would take it.
Because I guess another consideration that we didn't really talk about either is to what extent other players that are near you in Caro Prio will want the same component for the next stage.
Oh yeah, that's a reasonable thing. It's hard to really truly project, but I guess if you're like 2 Cypher players, then you can kind of tell, right? I do think there are some scenarios where it becomes more predictable, but I think for the most part, it's hard to say. Most games, like you're not gonna be able to predict who you're picking with.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
So here it's 3
okay.
cost sword, 4 cost rod, and a bow and Sejuani. What are you taking here?
Who's our secondary carry? Is gonna be Varus.
Usually Jin in this line.
Oh, Jin over Varus.
Usually it's Jin because Jin has marksman activated with Kindred.
Okay.
If you're playing 7 Exotech, which in this line with little buddies you usually do.
I mean, this kind of goes back to the math that we just did for the last game, right? Like we have hit 0 rods and we've hit 0 swords, so our odds are pretty good. Like that, but that 4 cost Sejuani is worth like 20 gold.
Oh, so you're arguing just you're taking this. I think the thing is it's again the logic of 58% is 58%. It's not 100%.
Yeah.
I feel like that's so far from 100. And then the other thing is the set. Yes, the set represents 20 gold, but we actually have a lot of gold. We're upward mobility. So I feel like the downside of not having a Rage Blade or IE in our spot, mostly the Rage Blade, is in my mind not worth suffering a 20 gold loss because we have an abundance of gold. But we will never have a Rage Blade if we don't drop one.
Yeah.
Never. By never, I mean we will not have it 4-1, 4-2, 4-3.
Okay. Yeah. How about it? I would probably just take the rod. Forecast.
Yeah. It sounded like you were just trying to make the argument for the sedge, but
Yeah.
not committing to that decision.
Oh.
I think he says out loud, "I can't take the sedge." I'm not mistaken. When I watch this, Rage Blade loss. Cash out is a fawn on 400 exactly. I think 390 though is the cash out threshold, and then 70. He has like 80 gold to roll, so I feel like the sedge is not like, I mean, obviously you can still miss, but in all likelihood you'll find pairs of most everything.
So are you usually holding MF on the roll down? Like, because he's just skipping it now.
Not on this board because you don't have items for MF, right?
Okay, so if you did, then you would.
Yeah. It's only if you had items for it, really. A naked MF isn't doing anything. Maybe now you're looking like you have items for it, but it's still kind of far. I'll just look
You
at the
hit
roll
the rod,
down.
hit the rod and the sword.
You just knew. Plus HP is not bad for the spot. I mean, it's very good for the spot. He has a Zaya on the board. What is his fawn right now? It's double Mord. He just adds Bruiser. Pretty sure Darius is better, but
It hits Sedge 2 on every roll down.
Sesh too. Again, he had 80 gold, but yeah, it definitely is still like you're happy about it. And then let's make sure he doesn't take an item here. So no item. So let's jump to Caro. Oh wait, we didn't decide on his items. Sorry. Right? We did.
Yeah, we did.
I just autopiloted through his items. Sorry. I think I autopiloted because I assume that the rest of the items still matter a lot. We saw what he made, but let's just assume we're deciding for ourselves.
Okay, Val makes sense. Rageblade IE.
Yeah, after the vow, you're left with
Reduced.
chain, cloak, belt, rod, right?
In cloak, belt, rod, and another tier.
Yeah, chain, cloak, belt, rod, tier.
So we can make. We already have even shroud, right?
We don't.
Oh, we don't. Okay. So vow, even shroud. Do we value even shroud more than Morello? Probably. We can make double vow even. Well, I guess we have chassis. Oh, we have excess of. Yeah, we have an excess of exo frontline.
Yeah, that's my concern with leaving if I go Morello, we're leaving the chain open. I guess you could go double vow, but then where's the? Yeah, it could be like double vow lantern.
Probably keep rod or belt open for. Or you keep rod open for anti-heal, use belt for even shroud. And then IE open, yeah, double vow.
Double vow even, but even child's just a one-off on a unit, I guess, because you would have like, wouldn't it die pretty easily? Is the concern. I guess you could also repulsor as a one-off, but it's also not super high value. Oh, he also has the. For some reason I was missing the green items. He also has there's so many frontline items here.
Yeah,
I guess you could stack them all in one unit.
Yeah, you can get 2 full tanks going pretty soon, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think I would do. But if we're double vow even shroud, our anti-heal is just rod, I guess, right? Which is not that bad. Yeah, I think I would do that as well. Double vow, even shroud, open rod. Yeah.
Yeah.
He went for Vow, IE, Sunfire instead. And I saw he even slammed Archangel next
I mean,
turn.
Morello would have been better than, unless he really values Archangel.
It is higher cap because it goes on Aurora eventually, right?
Yeah.
And Aurora with Archangel is insane. Archangel on Varus is also not bad.
And this
But-
more will die pretty quickly.
Yeah, the more.
And then
is
now
dying.
you're like also really far off Shred.
Although the
guess
more
not that far.
no, we even Shroud, right? I don't think the more. I think when your utility holder is holding a Spark or an even Shroud, it dying quickly matters a lot. Oh, I think he lost. Did he? Oh, he did not lose here. But when it's Sunfire, it matters a lot less, in my opinion, because it lasts longer, right? Like the burn lasts beyond the unit's death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's see what item. I assume you just go for Belt here, right? Even Shroud.
Yep. If not, but okay.
Oh,
well,
Zeri
yeah.
too.
Because here he could have had Even Shroud Morello instead, right? But I guess
Yeah,
having
but
3-item frontline's better.
I like the prospect of the double vow and the yeah. I think I would have done it slightly differently, but at the same time, like he got everything online. He has all the utility online. He has a double vow is also not item collector value, right? I don't know though if he didn't know that by the time he slammed the items, but
Not item collector value?
because your double double vow, which is item collector gives you value on unique items only.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Oh
Another
yeah, that's
example
why
of
it's
how
called
I don't
collector.
read.
That's why it's called collect. You're meant to but you get value out of making unique items. So there's a theoretical cap to it if you make every single
Oh.
item. You also get value out of exotech items, but not out of you only get value out of one thieves gloves.
And the Thieves Gloves gives you
Just one. It literally just is as if you have an item called TG and that's
okay.
it. And any other TGs give you nothing. Yeah. And this I only know because I think I posted it in the Discord as well. Yeah, but just because I just looked through the stats on the units. I'm not getting fed illegal augment information black market. Not at the moment, at least. What are we making here?
Reforge Vest. Or we could do another vow, but probably Reforge Vest to try and make another Paris item.
I kind of like moving the green item onto Mord here, right?
Oh right, I forgot that the third thing is a
The third item is fake. Yeah. I don't know why he even put that on. Oh, it's because it's
exo
it's
value.
exo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exo.
Okay, yeah, vow, double vow, and then move that off to the Jax.
We are losing item collector value, but I think it matters less in this situation when the item is so good in vow. Again, he has so many removers. Oh, I think the green one is way better on Mord.
Yeah.
Because he shields. But I guess now with double vow,
Oh.
Tajwani also shields.
Mhm.
So I could be wrong on that. Is he winning out from this spot? Level 950, probably. I don't know actually. Is he has good combat. It's basically like if you hit all the 2-star 5 costs, I think you can win out. Depends on other people's board strengths, but these other guys are such high HP. Let's go to item decision again. What item do we want here? Probably like a backline AP item, right? Yeah.
Aurora would be good too.
Yeah. The item is kind of, I guess you can reforge it.
Dojin if we want. or Aurora.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's Shojin or Aurora here. I feel like it's Shojin.
Yeah, we have
And
enough
then
gold that we have high expectation to like eventually hit Aurora.
yeah, although it does really increase your odds of Aurora 2. I think I agree with you that we're reasonably high odds for Aurora 1, but the odds we get Aurora 2 are far from guaranteed. And so finding one copy definitely helps. It's just if we were to forge into a bad item, then we're down an item. He's down. And I assume we reforge this.
Oh,
Oh, he
just
doesn't.
another tank item.
He just throws it on Jax. I guess the thing is reforging it right now doesn't do all. It's like a second item again on Varus. When you can always reforge it later. Maybe. I don't know what his logic is here. Because right now the Repulsor Lantern is also a low value item.
Archangel already on the Aurora would be better, right?
I think so, yeah. I think so. He loses to this super capped Vagar
we
board because
sure?
it has a investment strategy.
Oh,
Oh, he won. Oh, it's so close.
so many times I've lost to Zeri like that where I think I'm winning.
Yeah, Zeri's way too good at end game fights.
It's really
Or,
just the
like,
Sejuani stun, and you're just sitting there forever where like Zeri looks like she's dead, but she just finishes you
yeah,
off.
all the clones are just shooting. Oh, he's losing to Vexotech. Damn, how strong is this Vexotech board? Sejuani won.
Zach won, Sejuani won? How did that happen?
It's because he walked
Oh.
into the Sedge ult, and his Sedge ult did nothing.
And double
His Sedge ulted
cyber.
Morgana and Varus, and his Zeri walked in. Look, his Sedge ulted twice into literally nothing. It's 100% just a Sedge diff. It's actually kind of, and then I think the Zac also maybe CC'd the Zeri. That actually is still tilting. He goes 10. So here we should be rolling first, right? Before there's another like item decision thing here. Roll if you have a lot of gold, roll first to see what you 2-star and then make the item. Right? Maybe you find Viego 2 out of thin air. You itemize Viego. I'm sure most people know that, but we're still worth mentioning. Rolling with Zac on board, of course. You only care about Viego here, I think. I guess you could also play actually Renekton. He doesn't care about Renekton 2.
Wait, he missed the Zeri.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Made this.
There was one more that he missed. Right there.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. Wait, what? No planner.
The chat. We want to move items over to Zac, I assume. I mean, Redemption would be super good on Zac. If we want, although I feel like at this point we have enough HP, we just want more damage. Like,
yeah,
Guardbreaker, Archangel,
yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well. I'd rather just itemize this Aurora too potentially, and that gives us the ability to win this game. So like Guardbreaker or Red Buff if you care about backline anti-heal, but nope, it's more frontline.
I guess Zeri's a 1-star show.
Yeah, I would have thought we won item. I guess we were still Aurora 1, but I mean Redemption is still like a good item on Zac to allow the clones to potentially cast with mana and also good utility.
Yeah, he really doesn't use his removers. I feel like wouldn't 3-item Zac be better than Ward right now? Okay, there we
go. Got him. So here I don't know if it's correct, but I would tend to put the even shroud on Zac. And the Sunfire on Mord. Because if the Mord dies, I still have 3 more seconds of Sunfire. But here, when the Mord dies, my shred is gone. The other thing though is that Sunfire gives percent HP, which scales well with Zac. Right, so that's the counter argument.
And when he bounces around, does the Sunfire? I assume the Sunfire should also hit backline when he bounces.
Yeah, it might also spread better there for sure. He lost to Vayne 2. This guy's. Oh, his augments are insane. Spirit Link, the crit glove item, and bad luck protection.
Oh, I don't think I can see. My screen's stuck on.
Oh, can you see my
Okay,
screen
there
now?
it is now. Yeah.
I thought this is a cool. I mean, given all time crunch, he decides to sell the Varus. To roll more. Finds the guy. The girl.
Yeah, I feel like here you would definitely prefer
More items than just one
Guardbreaker on
item.
your
Yeah. Yeah, too many frontline items, right? He
Doesn't
won.
matter. Ooh,
Exo. What is that?
Exo Zac.
Allows him to drop Varus to play. Did it even do any? I mean, it probably is either Vex or MF here. Or Nectin. Good Exo Zac. I don't know if Exo Zac is good though. I feel like you lose on item slot. Where did Zeri go? It's dead? To what? It died to Ziggs.
Brand and Ziggs. But yeah, mostly Ziggs.
The Zeri randomly just got. It randomly walked into the columns that Ziggs was hitting. But I think a lot of it too is this board has too much HP because of the investment strat. Yeah. It doesn't even look like a second item Aurora diff. It looks like this board is just.
Are we
is
sure
hitting
that
like
the Exo, because Exo Zac would scale his HP a bunch, right? Like 600 HP or something. I guess it's 5 Exo.
Oh, it's 7. It's 7 Exo.
Oh, he's 7 Exo. Yeah, like you get like 675 HP from having Exo emblem. Like, isn't that?
Oh, so it's a better item than these
It's
other
like
items. I can see
Warmogs.
it.
I guess
Yeah.
it's Warmogs without the 12%.
And then you can also put the repulsor lantern on the Zac, which is potentially good because it's a fuck ton of damage on HP as well. Yeah. Guy
And
needs to
then,
take some notes from us.
and then he would have 3 item Mordekaiser as well, which would be much better.
Yeah. I don't know if it is diff in this fight. This fight looked like it was a damage diff, and I don't know how you have the damage to deal with this board because it has too much HP. Like, I don't think we even killed the Poppy. Do we? Oh, we do like way late into the fight. Yeah.
I might use the restroom real quick. BRB.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Do you
Yep.
want to go over, like, do you have takeaways from that game? Some recap, summary like that?
Can you go back to the final board so I can trigger my memory?
Yeah.
I think the end of stage 3 was the one that we disagreed on, like the Morello versus. But like I think we would have built the double vow.
Yeah.
But he ended up getting there anyway. But like Morello here instead of the Sunfire would have made a big difference in cap out potential. Which, like, we had the option of kind of leaving Rod open at that one point, but he slammed Sunfire instead. Other than that, I feel like there wasn't too much.
Took a Rage Blade off of stage 3, Carol, but that was like pretty straightforward. And then, yeah, I feel like everything, because it's a very hollow bow game, it's not too complex in that regard. There were definitely some discrepancies. Ultimately, he still gets to the same spot of like Shred and Sunder anti-heal, of course, but slightly different items. Are you down to do one last, or how are you looking on time? Do it.
Yeah, I'm trying to go a little quicker if possible. I got to stop at 5:30.
Component anvils. Oh, I didn't see his exo. Did he check? I don't think he checked. Exo opener.
Oh, you didn't make oh.
Lots of pair. You can play on Shaco here is the thing. It's hard to sell Shaco. Shaco reroll. You usually want econ in this portal. Probably upward, yeah. Open cell. Okay. So we're now cloak to anvils.
Knowing what EXO is actually quite relevant.
Yeah, I don't think he's checked or we missed it, but
I assume he had to have checked. He was playing 3 EXO.
oh yeah, the first one is flux. I don't know what the rest of it is. Do you want to go back and check?
Sure. Yeah, because that'll influence all the other decisions.
Hi, Setsuko. I don't think he checks.
Oh, there.
Oh, there. Yeah, repulsor,
Okay.
cyberclaw. Pretty bad.
So no hollow.
So we're cloak, anvil, basically open board. So for those who don't know, you can pop anvil going into carousel. Would you pop here?
Probably not.
Yeah, you can just keep 2 open, right, and pop it on Krugs.
Yeah.
If you even have to pop it then.
There's one guy that's already angling, either Vagar or Vex, had a Gunblade open tier.
So we're likely not going in that direction.
So like Brand Big seems like more viable.
The thing is, here you have to take we have Vi, right? You must take Cypher.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah.
You must, and then you decide your comp with the items afterwards because you get so much value out of this. Assuming you hit we also have rolls, right? Because upward mobility again, like the previous game of Cypher. Actually, it was in this spot. I remember thinking, I wonder if it's even worth leveling and rolling here for Cypher, but he opts not to because it could cost you just 1 econ potentially. Assuming that everyone in your pool is open anyway, or is not open. But it looks like this one player is, so it's definitely not worth. And he sells the Vi even. Oh, and the guy's popping up, so he never wins this, which is actually a really good play here. Okay.
Oh,
Still not popping the anvils. Still open. I assume he rolls for Cypher here if he doesn't have it. I already forget what he plays for here. Yeah.
thought of selling that Vi would have also not crossed my mind.
Oh, it's to guarantee the lost streaky. You
Yeah.
must, right? Especially because you have rolls, so you can find the Vi again. You must. Otherwise, like you're 50-50 on finding
Zeri.
it. Zeri. But we're not hollow bow, right? Still rolling. Vex. Probably hold it. And you still roll. Still rolling. Oh, this is kind of painful.
Oh my gosh, he hit so many forecasts. All right, you get
Brand.
Yeah. Okay.
And Draven.
Wait, he's got to put it in. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And now we're given these items.
Yeah.
What comp do you think we're playing now?
Brand.
With these items, gotta be Brand. Yeah.
So Shojin, JG. I mean, you could pretty much get Biss.
Instantly.
JG,
Everyone's gonna have Biss in
tiebreaker.
this portal, but like you also will have Biss. So just go through this. Takes gold.
Yeah, it's missing the
Guaranteed
Zyra.
I'm surprised he sold the Mundo there. I wouldn't have sold the Mundo. Mundo makes the board for me usually. And Mundo 1 versus 2 is a big deal. He sold the Zyra. Oh, he gets the Vi. Sorry. Yeah, it's the Vi. I would still hold the Zyra and Mundo, but he gets the Vi.
Wait, he sold the Zyra?
He sold the Zyra and the Mundo he got from the orb.
So then is he not playing Brand? What?
I assume you are, but I think his reasoning for taking misconnections is more so to get the Vi than it was to get the Zyra and Mundo. I guess. Or maybe he's not playing Brand. I forget already. I would think that if you're guaranteed playing Brand, you never sell. I mean, it could be possible that he's just not locked in, but and if you're playing Brand here, you take Belt here. I'm pretty sure, right?
But if you're not playing Brand, like
it's
you
gonna
play Vex.
Can be Draven. Can be Vex. It's hard to play Draven from. I mean, you can from upper nobility. These items are pretty good for Draven, right?
He sold he had so many opportunities to buy more Gallios to hold too. So,
yeah, so I guess he's not going for that line. I assume we're just Brand here.
But then why sell the Zyra? I think he's thinking tier then for Vex. You have blue buff Gunblade?
He's deciding based on everyone else, right? It looks like.
Okay, yeah, then Brand.
I guess he's back to
Brand. Why did he sell the Zyra? So weird.
Yeah. Still not slamming. Like this already can fit our definition of like can save you a lot of HP, but like he's I guess there's another Cypher player in his pool, so he's still fully opening. He pops going into carousel. So now these are interesting decisions. What do you take here? Right, we have Shojin, guard, JG.
We have open sword, open cloak. Is that right?
Yes.
Probably take tier here and rod for spark off carousel or bow for shiv.
Yeah, I think I would take tier here. I think we differed in the decision here, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly.
I would take the Brand. So then
yeah, I would as well.
Yeah, take tier. Oh yeah,
no Brand.
We don't get the Brand. I mean, I feel like sword you kind of just have to do Shojin. I guess it could be GS, but
GS is just so mid on Ziggs though, because he already has quite a bit of amp. But yeah, I would take tier here. I think he took, if I'm not mistaken. And then what component are you taking on Carol?
You could take tier or we have open sword, open cloak. So tier for Shojin, and then with the cloak, probably just rod for sport. I mean, Shiv is so much better than Spark though. But
Yeah,
I mean,
for
it
me,
is a
I'm thinking,
Mordekaiser, so yeah, I'll probably take the rod.
I feel like more raw. It's hard to use that many. I mean, not hard, but like I feel like I don't really want an abundance of rods anymore at this point.
We can
Whereas
still use
I
it
can,
for Morello.
but we could use up to 3 bows in my mind. Shiv, red buff.
Hmm.
Um,
What are we
and
gonna
I feel
kill
like
the cloak with?
the reforgers.
Oh,
Or it's more so it can be my tank items, right? Because I still need tank items. I have 0 tank items.
yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to kill cloak, right? Adaptive, maybe eventually declaw. I don't know, stone plate.
I feel like if
BT,
yeah, if this wasn't a Mordekaiser, I'd probably take.
gotcha. Yeah, I think I would take Tyr here and take the Cho, but then I think he takes Shane if I'm not mistaken. He like wants to make sure he's not like 0 frontline. It was a little surprising to me. Actually, it's quite surprising to me. If I'm not, maybe I'm remembering incorrectly, but I think he takes Shane.
The GF stone plate.
I didn't like the setup, but yeah, we'll maybe well, yeah, we'll see. I didn't like the itemization. I mean, but he loses here correctly. Brand paired. He's also Zeri. His bench is so cluttered. He's also Vex. So he can, because he's not selling anything, he can still technically Vex. He has Sejuani as well, right? He has Gunblade. He just needs 1 tier and he can play Vex. This
So
guy,
that
this guy's Brand for sure. Which is that's probably swaying his decision. Right? This guy's Brand.
okay. So the Vest's decision lets him play Val,
Yeah.
but he has
Yeah. I
he
didn't
has
realize that he
brand
was playing.
pair. Like what? He should have first dibs on brand. Like
You could still get hard stuck like a Nico, right? Potentially. Like it's still not ideal to be, even if you have like one of the. I would still very much lean Brand here, but.
man, this is too dizzy.
Oh, one tip I got here from Dank Memes is when you cash out and your bench looks like this, maybe it's not so hard in this spot, but what you're meant to do, and he even called it a mistake in his mind, you're not meant to pick up these orbs. Because when you pick up these orbs, assuming you're trying to roll down first, it matters less if you're on neutrals, you're just -2 bench spots.
Mm-hmm.
And it forces you to pop anvils when you don't want to. So you're meant to just leave the orbs on the board.
Although if they
So
drop
now, like,
components, and you, if he didn't hit the brand 2, he might still be thinking about flexing. In which case, the components could influence what units you will pick up.
oh, from the anvil, yeah. They're all, if it's only when the anvils, they take up bench space. But then, if you're saying that you would pop the anvils first and then decide on your comp, it is
No.
doable. Yeah, if they're anvils, I feel like usually you buy the units first and then you pop the anvils, right?
There could be just free components though. You pick up, right?
Oh yeah. In those cases, well, if they're free components, it will say what the components are, right?
Or can you distinguish between an orb that looks like an orb that is a component versus an orb that's an anvil?
Yeah, here it says component anvil, right?
Oh, I see. Okay.
Whereas others will just say component.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, so now you should just open sell, right? Like just commit.
As soon as we hit the brand 2, I think so. Yeah, he is. Window 2. Rolling to 30 is a good point. Let's see, it's a lot of swords. Where is his tier? What happened to his tier? Oh, it's on the Sejuani. Let's finish his roll down, then we can decide on the items. But there's a lot to decide here. This is a hard turn, but I mean, you gotta decide. Ziggs, he has no Zyra because he sold his Zyra from earlier. He actually is punished for not holding Zyra. He has to play Jinx or Kabuko. Jinx. Okay. So obviously it's Shojin.
Shojin, pop anvil, ideally another Shojin. Morello, Shiv. Wait, no. Okay, so it's Shojin first, and then red buff to kill the. Well, there's so many swords. I mean, in order of importance, it's Shojin, and then ideally you could make another Shiv and Morello. So
Yeah, that's how I view this line as well. And then that's how I would do the Shojin, and then I probably just like the thing is we have 3 seconds, right? So I don't know what I would do under the gun, but what I would like to think I would do is I would just jam the tank items. Like I would go probably like just to make the decision easy. I would just go it doesn't look ideal. I'd probably go Stone Plate Steadfast, and then now I'm stuck with all the non-tank items, and then I would just jam everything at that point because you have 3 seconds to make everything right, and you cannot lose this. Like losing this turn is your whole game basically. And then you also have these decisions, so it's so hard, right?
Yeah,
but
I feel like I would pop. You're saying tank is more important because if you put tank items on later, it's less valuable than putting the utility on.
Yeah, I think you're not allowed to pop this anvil until you've made like most of your items. I would go like Shojin. I mean, I'm not saying this is what would happen, but what I think I would like to do is Steadfast, Stone Plate, Shojin, and then I start popping.
Okay, but if you had more time, you would pop first.
Yes, definitely.
Okay,
definitely. Shojin. Yeah, I didn't like what he did here.
Yeah, he's probably just short on time.
I think so.
Like the exact opposite of how you want to slam.
And he ended up making like the shit utility.
Yeah.
For this line, you don't really want those in this line.
And he got the gear.
He even lost.
Yeah, he would have had
lost. Like he has good backline items now, but now his utility is kind of wonky, and he's not even Ziggs 2. He's not even Ziggs paired. I mean, which kind of sucks because these real items in Ziggs don't even do that much. So I'd rather just have the better utility items.
They found the Zyra at least.
He's upset that this guy has Exalted Adventure on an already good board. Vayne Skarner, I think. And then we need to make a decision here.
What is our? We have open bow and all utility.
Open bow and Ziggs.
Okay, so it's pretty much only GS, right? I guess Nasher.
I think Nasher is better on this unit because he already has a bunch of
Strategist damage amp.
And his cast is like not that slow. Attack speed from what I found in this guy is not that bad. You probably just take Kabuko though. Do you?
Open bow. I think getting that third item seems so important, but I mean he's one life. Okay.
Just make the rage. I would just make the Rage Blade. Just make it.
Or reforge bow. Maybe what are your odds on? Your odds are pretty good to get some. You get.
I feel like I would just Rage Blade. I would just like I feel like my item I get from it is better than the probabilistic item that I get. In my mind, and then I think I would roll here because I'm scared. Oh, is he leveling and rolling? Oh, because it's upward mobility. Yeah.
Diego.
Yeah. I'm curious what he does with the item here. I think you're meant to move the vow to either the one guy or either to Viego or Kabuko. Oh, at 16 HP, you probably don't Rage Blade. You probably do it on 1 life.
I feel like you reforge the bow, even if you get like vest, it's actually not that bad for Crown Guard, and pretty much everything except for belt and cloak is bad.
If you reforge the bow, everything except for belt and cloak is fine. Yeah, double JG, Death Cap, Gunblade is like not the worst. Crown Guard, belt. You said belt and there are 3. There are 3 misses, right?
You can't reforge into it another bow though, right? Crown Guard you could put on Viego.
Oh, but then we're not 3 item Ziggs.
Right. I mean, you could just put it on him for now.
Crown Guard. Let's Crown Guard the Ziggs, I guess. I feel like at that point I'd rather just Rage Blade him.
Is Rage Blade really better than Crown Guard on Ziggs?
Wait, why wouldn't it be?
Man, at least Crown Guard gives you a bunch of AP, right? Like Rage Blade, I mean, I guess it helps him cast a little bit more.
It's like a shitter Nasher, basically, right? That's what I
Yeah.
would think of it. But this is only on one life. On not one life, I wouldn't Rage Blade. But now I would Rage Blade.
Yeah.
Here. Now I'm Rage Blade here. Let's see what he does. Oh, he hit Viego too.
Okay, now it's definitely Reforged Bow, right?
I'm definitely down to just. I think you can even argue for reforging Bow and Shojin. If you're like that scared and 7 HP, I'm down to just reforge Bow and Shojin. And then you put both on or maybe even Shojin the Viego, potentially. I definitely want items not on the Ziggs. I want them on the Viego.
Yeah.
But maybe he's thinking about banning some chatters, so he doesn't.
Wait, what? What is he doing with that bow? Oh. So now he has to slam Rage Blade. He's gonna be dead. What's he doing?
Think that.
Okay. I mean, that was definitely an item to JG, and any rod item that was Reforged Bow would won.
And his chat, bye bye, buddy. Missing connection in brain. Dodge.
He must have been tilting so hard.
Bye bye.
Rage Blade did. Dude, his chat flames him so hard.
Oh yeah, I mean all these guys, dude. Yeah, I don't know if this is a masterclass and there's items, but takeaways from this game. It looks like you're having to head out pretty soon anyway.
Yeah.
We can jump back to leaving components open. I mean, I feel like you would have done this as well, but it's just something like he didn't slam a single item because he was even holding open like another line, right? I think I remember we watched the game of VOD of yours where you were jamming items to save HP.
Yeah.
And I think it's not unreasonable in some spots. I think he was concerned about another open player, and that's probably why he didn't jam items. Yeah, there was another Cypher player, right? And so he really did not want to jam items. And then further, there was another brand player, so he was potentially willing to ditch brand if he didn't find the brand units.
So I think that would be interesting to explore on, what was it, 4-1 or 4-2 when he was doing his roll down. Like, if there was an alternate line that he picked, which would it have likely have been, and what items would he have slammed in that alternate line?
I think it'd be Vex, right? It has to be Vex. He's holding Jax, Vex, Jax pair, Vex, and Sejuani. And then you have you already have full gun. You're missing one tier, I think, right?
Why hold the Zeri then? Is he still, because he has more?
Sometimes you can play the Zeri on the Vex board. It's not ideal, but like if you find Zeri 2 and you randomly have like a Rage Blade, which he does here, then you can kind of play it on the board. Instead of like Jin with Dynamo, you just have a Rage Blade Zeri there.
Can you pause here? Or...
Yeah.
Okay, so because he does have a ton of swords.
Yeah, you can kind of make some Zeri items, right?
Because
I don't think it's high. In my mind, it's on high prio for his board, but it would just be like, well, if I happen to find a Zeri 2, it just goes on the board because you're already playing Sedge, you're already playing Jax.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's say it was the Vex angle. Let's say he didn't hit the brand.
Mm-hmm.
He has Gunblade, he has Guardbreaker.
Mm-hmm.
He would need to high roll a tier off the anvil. But I guess worst case you just slam Shojin.
He has anvil, he has item anvil, he has component drops, he has 2 reforgers. Given infinite time, I feel like the odds of finding tier is quite high for 4-1. Maybe like 70%. I don't know. Like, I already demonstrated that I can fuck up my odds off of the top of my head, so I don't know. It's at least 50-50 on this one anvil, right? This one component anvil, so it's better than 50-50 for sure.
Okay, and then it'd be GS, So JG or no, not Guardbreaker, Gunblade. Let's say the anvil is a tier.
Let's see what he drops from components as well. Because assuming you have time to see what the other components are, he's rolling for the board now already, right? And then you decide based on what you hit. But you have this completed anvil, and then let's say what does he drop here? He drops HP. What items are these? He drops hacked orbs. So there's so many items, right, to decide on. This can now be a spark potentially for the other board.
And the rods are good.
Yeah, chain. He has so many components. I feel like it's kind of hard to not play. You can kind of play anything.
Yeah.
Two reforgers, anvil. You just play whatever you hit, and here you hit the.
Would have
brand.
also been able to play double rage blade, like something Zeri as well.
Yeah, if you hit the Zeri. Not that I think that's good, and I don't think that's good though, because I think Zeri with a hollow bow is not really worth playing around a lot. You would just kind of just because you have to, because it's what you hit and you hit nothing else. But
so Vex would have been the priority, if not for
I think
Brand.
so. I think Vex with no crazy setup is much better than Zeri with no crazy setup, which is
Yeah,
hollow bow.
not having that Zyra here penalized him.
He lost this round because of it. I'm pretty sure this is a Zyra diff.
Yeah, that and like the 4 items.
Yeah, the spark. I think because he's not able to kill the backline here. They're not shredded from Shiv, and then the damage from like a Ziggs with the utility items would have done a lot of stuff here. But the thing is, it's hard to really fault. Like, did he really like blunder his roll down or decisions? I don't think so. I think he just was so strapped for time, right? Like he had 2 full turns, and I don't think he was inefficient with any. Like, if we like try to critique his roll down, I don't think he really wasted time here. Oh, I will say once he hit the brand, the rollout was much easier if you just sell, like sell everything.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He kept a few. He wasted about 3 seconds here, maybe. I don't know. You want to be critical, like yeah. He starts open selling, but he's not full open selling. Did he miss a Zyra here, or no? No. Yeah. He still bought the Vex, which I feel like is making him even more confused, right?
So he must have been tunneling pretty hard on Vex as his primary out.
I think a lot of the players I've been chatting with really have grown to dislike this brand line because it is not good into the Slayer board. Like a 3-star Slayer board on stage 4 is so hard to deal with.
Yeah,
with brand.
it heals back up. Yeah.
They keep healing, and then you have to have everything to guarantee a win on stage 4.
Right.
Even TF is like not even that great of a matchup as well sometimes. So whereas Vex usually, because it's true damage and it's just hitting frontline, is able to win. Also like Rengar, not that Rengar is that popular right now. It's like it's played, but I feel like the Vex is also better into Rengar.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Cool. Looks like that's basically all we have time for. Yeah, hope we're able to find this. I think it was definitely not an all-inclusive, like everything item economy. We just got to cover what we got to cover, but hopefully that was still useful for you.
Yeah, definitely.